Chapter 185. In the following 2 days, Tanxio no longer paid attention to the winery issue. Instead, he bought a batch of things and prepared to brew wine in the warehouse. His brewing method was very special. In addition to some grains, he also bought a lot of medicinal herbs and fruits. However, if he wanted to brew wine, time was a problem. It would take at least a few days to ferment the grains, make the fruits into a sauce, and boil the medicinal herbs. Only then would he be able to brew the wine. However, everything was ready, but he found that he had no money in his hands. The 2.5 billion he got a few days ago, he gave 2 billion to Chen Jizhong and 300 million to Kongxia. The remaining 200 million was given to Chu Yi as the money to buy medicinal herbs. I have to think of a way to get money. The preliminary work of brewing wine had been completed. Standing in the warehouse, Tanxio thought with a helpless expression. He had a lot of things to do recently, but all of them needed money. He thought of selling another cultivation technique, but he had almost used up all of Xiao Mingzhen's and Miao Wentong's money. Even if he wanted to sell it, he couldn't find a suitable buyer. The other cultivator he knew was Dao Master Zi, but he was extremely poor. Even if he sold everything he had, he wouldn't be able to get much money. Should he borrow money? Just as this idea emerged in Tanxio's mind, he immediately rejected it. Knock knock. The warehouse's door was knocked as Gu Yin came in with an expectant look on her small face. She looked at Tanxio and said, "Master, Yinin needs to buy tutorials and workbooks. Mom is in class and has no time to accompany Yinin to the stationery store. Can you accompany me?" "All right, let's go now," Tanxio said with a smile. Although he had no money at present, he still had enough money to buy tutorials and workbooks. Moreover, Gu Yin's study was very important. He was still waiting for the grains to ferment, so he couldn't brew wine for the time being. Tanxio left South Gate Town with Gu Yin. Just as he walked out of the villa complex's gate, he keenly felt the existence of a threat. This kind of threat made him faintly uneasy. It was as if there was a pair of eyes staring at him from a dark corner. "Have you offended anyone recently?" Tanxio furrowed his brows and glanced around a few times in a seemingly casual manner. He held Gu Yin's hand tightly. No matter what danger he encountered, even if it meant getting himself injured, he would not let Gu Yin get hurt. A few minutes later, when Tanxio brought Gu Yin to the nearby commercial street, that feeling disappeared without a trace. However, he did not let his guard down. He accompanied Gu Yin to the stationery store to buy reference books and exercise books, and then directly sent Gu Yin home. Half an hour later, Tanxio left the villa quietly. He didn't go out from the front door. Instead, he went from the back of the villa and went up the hill. Then he quietly went around the forest. Tanxio, who had changed his clothes and was constantly observing the surroundings with his sharp eyes, soon appeared in the vicinity of the South Gate Town's entrance. However, he only hid behind a tree and quietly searched for the unknown enemy. In a building a kilometer away from Tanxio, 2 men were standing by the window with military binoculars in their hands, observing the buildings of the South Gate Town. One of them was Wang Ming. Behind them, there were 4 other men drinking and chatting. Wang Ming put down the binoculars in his hands as he looked at the lean man beside him and said, "Wolfhead, we've investigated the identity of the other party. He's not a bad guy. Furthermore, he has such a big business at such a young age, and his skill is also very powerful. Do we still need to continue monitoring him? After all, he only gave us 3 days." Wolfhead said, "We've investigated him, but the information shown is not accurate. Don't be fooled by his appearance. He's not simple." When he took the little girl out of the South Gate Town's villa complex's entrance, he already noticed that someone was monitoring him. "I'm not sure if he's aware of our existence, or if he's aware of the existence of another group of people." Wang Ming was surprised. "There's another group of people monitoring him?" Wolf had pointed to the northwest direction and lightly said, "Do you see that Liangpi stall on the street? I bought Liangpi from that stall this morning. The other party looks very ordinary, but he's definitely a powerful character. Furthermore, he should have a gun on him. In addition, according to my observation, there were only 3 people who went to the stall yesterday to buy anything. 2 of them just randomly took some things and left without even paying for them. As for the other one, it's a middle-aged woman with a child. She didn't buy anything. Wang Ming's mind moved as he quickly asked, "You mean the other party is in disguise and wants to deal with that Tan Xiao?" Wolf had nodded and said, "If my guess is correct, they should want to deal with him. I really want to watch this good show. I don't know if the final result will be his death, or those killers will have bad luck." Wang Ming asked, "Are we not going to help him?" Wolf had sneered. "If he can't even solve such a trivial matter, what qualifications does he have to be our boss?" Wang Ming said, "If he really can't deal with those enemies, are we really going to follow him?" Wolf had said indifferently, "Those killers lurking in the dark are very dangerous. Even if we brothers encounter them, we'll fail miserably if we're not careful. If he can deal with them, it proves that he's very powerful. It's not impossible for us to follow him to deal with them. However, I still don't know what he wants us to do with him." Wang Ming nodded and no longer spoke. He was also looking forward to Tan Xiao's next performance. Wolf had raised his binoculars again. When he looked outside the South Gate town's villa complex's gate, his brows suddenly raised. A strange expression appeared in his eyes as he whispered, "Pay attention to the big tree 65 meters to the left of the gate." I didn't expect that he would actually sneak out of the villa complex and hide in the dark to observe the enemy. Ha! He should have found that stall selling liangpi. Wang Ming quickly raised his binoculars and clearly saw Tan Xiao flashing out from behind the tree and walking toward the stall selling liangpi. Stupid! If he just walks there and the other party directly shoots him, he won't be able to kill him even if he has 10 lives. Wang Ming immediately said in a low voice after he saw it clearly. Wolf had said, "Keep looking." Near the South Gate town's gate, Tan Xiao came to the front of the liangpi stall. His sharp eyes sized up the middle-aged boss as he lightly said, "Give me 2 liangpi. I'll take them away." The middle-aged man said with a smile, "All right, please wait a moment." After saying that, he quickly glanced at the distant street corner as he raised his left hand to scratch the back of his head. Then he slowly grabbed a piece of liangpi. Tan Xiao had been releasing his divine sense outside, covering a radius of 200 meters. The middle-aged boss's action was seen by his eyes. Within the scope of his divine sense, a man and a woman who looked like a couple quickly appeared under his surveillance. Gunmen? 3 people? Tan Xiao slightly squinted his eyes as he was ready to act. He didn't care who these people were. As long as they had killing intent toward him, he would never show mercy. "Boss, I don't want liangpi anymore," Tan Xiao said as he turned around to leave. The middle-aged boss furrowed his brows and a murderous intent instantly emerged in his eyes. In a flash, his hand grabbed the handle of the gun on his waist. The moment he retracted his hand into his sleeve, the gun's muzzle was already aimed at Tan Xiao. His finger moved. Bam! As the gunshot rang out, the middle-aged boss's complexion greatly changed all of a sudden. It was because he was confident that his shot didn't hit Tan Xiao. He even felt his vision blur and lost sight of Tan Xiao's figure. Hiss! A gust of wind sounded, and the middle-aged boss felt a chill on his neck. He gasped and felt that his neck was clamped by an iron clamp. Tan Xiao stood behind the middle-aged boss and whispered in his ear, "Don't act rashly, else I'll immediately break your neck. Tell me, who wants to kill me?" The middle-aged boss's body turned stiff. He wanted to turn his head, only to find that he couldn't move his neck at all. A wave of horror surged inside his heart. His lips squirmed a few times and he bitterly said, "I don't know either. I've been paid to eliminate disasters for others. I just want the target's information, and I'll get the money after the job is done." "I believe you," Tan Xiao sneered. "Don't move. Those young couple over there should be your people, right?" Tan Xiao sneered. "They also have guns. It seems that some people really value me and sent 3 assassins at once. Tell me, how much is my head worth?" Five million. 5 million for each of us. That's 15 million, said the middle-aged boss with a trembling voice. Tan Xiao nodded and said, "There should be a middleman between you and the employer, right? The 3 of you can get 15 million, but I'm afraid my head is more valuable. Tell me your contact with the middleman." 13814. The middle-aged boss gave him a cell phone number. Tan Xiao casually twisted the middle-aged boss's neck and grabbed his shoulder, looking at the man and woman who were getting closer without changing his expression. At this moment, the man and woman also noticed the unusual situation. They were more than 20 meters away from the stall and directly stopped. Very vigilant. Tan Xiao sneered coldly. He took the middle-aged boss's pistol and fired several shots at the man and woman more than 20 meters away without hesitation. He had never used a gun before, but he could lock it with his divine sense. As his finger pulled the trigger, the bullets instantly hit the man and woman. Peach blossoms bloomed. Bright red flowers bloomed on the man and woman's foreheads. 2 shots killed 2 people. Tan Xiao didn't throw the pistol away, but directly stuffed it into his pocket. He covered his face with his sleeves and quickly disappeared from the stall's vicinity. A murder. A cry of alarm came from nearby. A young woman carrying a handbag passed by. Hearing the gunshots and seeing the man and woman lying in a pool of blood, she panicked and lost her head. Even as he shouted, he ran into the distance. The 4 security guards at the entrance of Southgate Town hurriedly rushed out the moment they heard the gunshots and rushed toward the direction of the Liangpi stall. Someone reported that Silent Night's update time is too late. In order to take care of our brothers and sisters' work and rest time, Silent Night has decided to adjust the update time to the daytime. This is the first chapter. There will be 3 chapters tomorrow during the daytime, 9 a.m., 3 p.m., and 9 p.m. respectively. Brothers and sisters, please inform each other in the book review section and reader group. Chapter 186. Inside a building 1,000 meters away, Wolfhead and Wang Ming clearly saw what was happening in front of the Liangpi stall through binoculars. They didn't expect Tan Xiao to be so decisive. In today's legal society, he dared to kill people. He's very smart. Wolfhead looked at Tan Xiao's disappearing figure, and an extraordinary splendor flashed across his eyes. Wang Ming frowned and said, "Why do you say that?" After he broke the stall owner's neck, he snatched the pistol and shot the 2 killers. He didn't throw the pistol on the ground but directly took it with him. Also, did you notice his footsteps? He had been walking on his toes. He knew that once the police arrived at the crime scene, they would conduct an investigation. The most basic investigation method was to scan the footprints on the ground. Moreover, his previous appearance at the entrance of Southgate Town is bound to be investigated by the police. If we make him compare the footprints at the crime scene, he will be exposed. Wang Ming nodded and sighed in admiration. It's really a waste of talent that he didn't join the army. Wolfhead shook his head and said, "He's not suited to be a soldier." Wang Ming was surprised. "What do you mean?" Wolfhead said, "He's too ruthless and has no scruples in handling things. He's not suitable for military discipline. Once he joins the army and becomes a soldier like us, he's bound to cause big trouble." Wang Ming nodded and asked, "What should we do next? Cooperate with the police to arrest him?" Wolfhead turned his head and looked deeply at Wang Ming as he coldly said, "Why do you want to cooperate with the police? One should not meddle in politics if one is not in a position. We've already taken off our military uniforms, so there's no need for us to get involved. Don't forget that it wasn't easy for us to get rid of our pursuers and sneak into Star City. Do you want to expose our whereabouts again?" After a moment of silence, Wang Ming said bitterly, "If we show up, we'll definitely be monitored by the state." Wolfhead sneered and said, "Let's see what Tan Xiao is going to do next. If he can solve this matter perfectly without causing any trouble, it proves that he is capable and worthy of our following. If he gets into trouble and doesn't meet my expectations, then we'll go our separate ways." "All right." Wang Ming nodded silently. Wolfhead was silent for a moment before he turned around and threw the binoculars in his hand on the table. Then he said in a deep voice, "You guys continue to monitor here. I'll go out for a while." Wang Ming quickly said, "Wolfhead, don't tell me you want to keep a close watch on Tan Xiao? This guy is vicious and merciless. If he accidentally treats you, I don't even have the ability to protect myself if he misunderstood me," said Wolfhead indifferently. "I don't think he needs trash like us. All right, wait for me to come back. The tree longs for peace, but the wind never ceases." Tan Xiao did not know who it was that hated him to the bone, to the extent that they did not hesitate to hire 3 powerful killers to kill him. However, he wasn't a soft persimmon. Adhering to the principle of I won't offend people if they don't offend me, but if they offend me, I'll definitely offend them. He didn't return to the Southgate town after leaving the Liangpi stall. Instead, he went to a secluded place on the other side, took out his mobile, and dialed the number given by the Liangpi stall's owner. The call was connected, but the other party did not speak. Tan Xiao was silent for more than 10 seconds before he slowly said, I'm Tan Xiao. I'll give you 10 times the reward. Tell me the answer I want. Are they dead? A deep and low voice finally came from the phone. Yes, Tan Xiao said. They're all dead. The person on the phone fell into silence again. This time, he was silent for a full half a minute before he slowly said, Transfer 200 million to my account. I don't like trouble, so I hope you can tidy up the ending for me. The account number is... Tan Xiao squinted his eyes and dialed Kong Xia's cell number. After he learned that the 300 million he just gave her had not been spent yet, he immediately said, Give me 200 million and transfer it to the account I'll give you immediately. Be quick. Kong Xia forced a smile and said, Boss, what do you want to do? It's not easy for me to get some money, but you... Don't ask what you shouldn't ask and transfer the money immediately, said Tan Xiao in a deep voice. All right. Kong Xia complied and then transferred 200 million to the account according to Tan Xiao's instruction. In the afternoon, the staff of the property management office delivered an express delivery to his home. Tan Xiao had been waiting for the news. After receiving the express delivery, he opened it and took a few glances. A dense killing intent surged in his heart. Zhang Deqin? Tan Xiao remembered the appearance of this woman. When he went to the Rising Dragon Martial School to challenge the school, and even asked for 100 million, Zhang Deqin sent him a video message the next day. She told Tan Xiao that she was out of the country and couldn't get away to go back. Moreover, she solemnly apologized to Tan Xiao and promised that she wouldn't do anything wrong again in the future. It was just a small grudge. Tan Xiao had never taken it to heart. Not to mention that the other party had already apologized, so he didn't feel like tidying up the siblings. But he didn't expect that Zhang Deqin turned out to be a woman who would seek revenge for the smallest grievance. She didn't even hesitate to spend 20 million to hire assassins. On the same night, Tan Xiao quietly came to Long Jingyu's residence. Although it was already late at night, Tan Xiao could be sure that Long Jingyu hadn't rested since the whole building was brightly lit. Releasing his spiritual sense, Tan Xiao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Long Jingyu was working on the bed at the moment, and there were more than one opponents around him. This guy. Tan Xiao hid in the dark shade of the villa's courtyard and waited for 10 minutes. He paid attention to the end of Long Jingyu's fight. Then he picked up a stone and fiercely smashed it toward the bedroom's glass on the second floor. Bang! The glass of the bedroom's window on the second floor was smashed. On the soft bed, Long Jingyu stood up with satisfaction and was about to take a bath in the bathroom. Suddenly, he saw the glass was smashed, and his complexion greatly changed. He quickly grabbed his pajamas and quickly put them on. Then he flashed to the glass window and looked outside while shouting, "Who's there?" Tan Xiao came out from the shade of the tree and waved to Long Jingyu before quickly retreating. Long Jingyu's expression slightly stagnated after he clearly saw Tan Xiao's appearance. Never in his dreams did he expect that the one who came to smash his house's glass would turn out to be Tan Xiao. It was because he had never told Tan Xiao his address. However, he quickly came out and looked at Tan Xiao, who was leaning on the tree's shade. He forced a smile and said, "Brother Tang, I didn't offend you, did I? You didn't sleep in the middle of the night and came to my house to smash my window. What's your intention?" "I need your help with something," said Tan Xiao. Long Jingyu rolled his eyes and snappily said, "If there's something you need my help with, just call me directly. Why did you smash my house's glass? Fortunately, you just smashed it. Had it been a few minutes earlier, I would have been scared to the point of impotence." "I have some medicine to treat impotence," said Tan Xiao with a faint smile. Long Jingyu was at a loss whether he had to cry or laugh. "All right, stop bragging. Hurry up and tell me, what's the matter?" A strange light flashed in Tan Xiao's eyes as he asked, "Is there a grudge between your Long family and the Zhang family of Star City?" "The Zhang family?" Long Jingyu stared blankly for a moment before he immediately shook his head and said, It's not a grudge, just a competitor. But we also have some small frictions in private. Tan Xiu was silent for a moment and then asked, what will happen to the Zhang family if Zhang Deqin and Zhang Yongjin are dead? Long Zhengyu stared blankly and asked in horror, what do you want to do? Tan Xiu coldly said, those two siblings must die. So, answer my question. Long Zhengyu looked at Tan Xiu with disbelief and whispered, Brother Tang, you must think twice before you act. The Zhang family has been operating in Star City for decades, so they are definitely deeply rooted. Even if we, the Long family, want to move against them, we will have to suffer heavy losses. Once you kill them, the Zhang family will retaliate by hook or by crook. Tan Xiu said, the reason why I came to you is because I have considered the consequences of the Zhang family's retaliation. I just want to ask you, if your Long family and Chen Zhizhong join hands, can you deal with the Zhang family? Long Jingyu pondered for a moment before he forced a smile and said, that will be very difficult. At most, we can only make the Zhang family suffer heavy losses. Tan Xiu pondered for a moment and slowly said, is it possible for external forces to intervene in this matter? Long Jingyu was surprised. You mean forces outside of Star City? For example, Chu Yi's family and Bai Tao's family? Or the Ouyang family? You can count them in as well, said Tan Xiu. Long Zhengyu was excited and quickly said, if they are willing to participate, we can exterminate the Zhang family. However, Chu Yi's and Bai Tao's families are in the imperial capital, and they also have many hostile forces eyeing them covetously. If they make a big move, the hostile families will definitely catch them. The Ouyang family can participate, but can Ouyang Lulu make the decision? Tan Xiu said, then there's no need to involve Chu Yi and Bai Tao. I'll solve the Ouyang family's problem. I'll give you 2 days to collect all the information about the Zhang family and give me a copy. I'll meet you 2 days later, and we'll talk about it in detail at that time. Long Jingyu quickly said, no problem. I'll give you the detailed information as soon as possible. However, you must not act in advance. If the Zhangs really provoke you, I can find someone to clean up the Zhang siblings first to vent your anger. Tan Xiu shook his head and said, no need. Having said that, Tan Xiu didn't stay for long. Under Long Jingyu's watchful gaze, he lightly flipped over the wall and left. It was an empty street with a dark alley. After leaving Long Jingyu's residence, Tan Xiu's heart was still shrouded in a sense of crisis. Although he had killed 3 assassins with his own hands, he still felt that there was a pair of eyes watching him in the dark. However, he used his spiritual sense to cover the surroundings, yet he didn't find the enemy's existence. An expert. Tan Xiu could be sure that the other party was definitely a detection expert. Otherwise, it was impossible for the other party to lurk in the distance and secretly monitor him. The park? Tan Xiu's footsteps stopped at the park's entrance. His mind turned sharply as he immediately flipped over the wall and entered the park. He then disappeared into the woods in the park. He needed to uncover the person hiding in the dark, otherwise he wouldn't be able to eat and sleep well. The subscription data has been declining recently. Everyone is fattening up. Please subscribe automatically, brothers and sisters. This is what Quiet Night needs the most. Thank you. Chapter 187. Hundreds of meters away. Wolf had put down the binoculars in his hand as vigilance flashed in his eyes. He realized that Tan Xiu had found something, but he wasn't sure whether it was him or not. With a cautious attitude, he quickly circled to the other side of the park and quietly sneaked in. A few minutes later, Wolf had appeared in the grove. He was like a shadow in the dark as he quietly came to the place where Tan Xiu jumped over the wall. As he squatted on the ground and quickly observed the footprints on the ground, his figure also chased in another direction bit by bit. Gone. Wolf had lost track of Tan Xiu's footprints under a tree. Just as he turned around to search, his complexion suddenly changed. His toes suddenly stomped the ground, and he was about to flee into the distance. Whoosh! A figure fell from the sky and landed in front of Wolf Head. Tan Xiu indifferently looked at Wolf Head. Although he had a pistol on his waist, he didn't have the slightest intention to use it. In his view, his own strength was the biggest killing weapon. You've been following me all the way. You've been following me all the way. Wolf had violently retreated a few meters in an instant. He didn't turn around to flee, but stared at Tan Xiao like a hungry wolf and said in a deep voice, "There are only a handful of people in this world who can discover me. I don't get it. How did you discover me? People who have been hovering on the edge of death all year round will have a keen sense of crisis," said Tan Xiao indifferently. "You have a strong murderous aura on you, and you've killed at least 100 people. Presumably, you're also someone who has been hovering on the edge of death all year round. Just like how you just noticed that the footprints were gone, and immediately wanted to retreat. I've investigated your information, and it shows that you're just an ordinary student," said Wolfhead. "Even if you're more powerful than some people and started your business before graduating from high school, I don't know much about your skills in killing without batting an eye. I don't believe that someone is born with a powerful strength, nor do I believe that someone is born cold-blooded. Can you explain it to me? You're not qualified." Tan Xiao shook his head. Wolf had squinted his eyes and his body instantly tensed up. He then said in a deep voice, "Whether I'm qualified or not, we'll talk after we fight. If you can defeat me, I will consider agreeing to your terms." "My conditions?" Tang Xiao stared blankly. At this moment, Wolf had pounced forward. The veins on his arms bulged, and his fists carried a sharp gust of wind as they smashed towards Tan Xiao's face. His speed had exceeded the limits of the human body. Even Tan Xiao did not dare to let his guard down. Retreat. Tan Xiao's speed was even faster than Wolfhead's. His fist collided with Wolfhead's fist. His body swayed, but he didn't retreat. Wolfhead, on the other hand, retreated 7 or 8 steps before he staggered and stabilized his body. Such powerful strength. Wolfhead's right hand trembled as he looked at Tan Xiao in disbelief. "You're also very strong," said Tan Xiao lightly. He didn't expect it to break through 500 kilograms. "If I'm not mistaken, you practice Qigong, right? And your true Qi cultivation has also reached the minor completion level. Even those so-called martial arts grandmasters will die in your hands in a short time if they go all out against you." Wolfhead couldn't deny it and smiled. His figure once again pounced toward Tan Xiao. This time he still waved his fist and smashed it toward Tan Xiao's face. However, his footwork was in a different position from before. When the fist shadow was about to hit Tan Xiao, his footwork instantly rotated and his body strangely changed its direction. Like a willow swaying, his fist shadow also struck Tan Xiao's left neck in a strange route. "Humph!" Tan Xiao snorted coldly. His hands moved as fast as lightning and blocked Wolfhead's attack in an instant. He was thousands of times more experienced than Wolfhead when it came to fighting. He had fought countless times and had long trained every nerve in his body to be in a fighting state. As his footwork shadow moved, Wolfhead attempted to attack again. But eventually, he was helpless and had to go all out to resist and evade Tan Xiao's attack. Bam! Wolfhead's arms were dislocated by Tan Xiao's footwork shadow. The burning pain made his complexion change miserably. As he staggered backward, he shouted, "Stop!" Tan Xiao stopped and stood 4 to 5 meters away from Wolfhead. Then he indifferently said, "Seeing that you haven't taken out your Mitsubishi Army knife, I'll give you a chance to speak." Wolfhead forced a smile and shook his head. He sighed. "Wang Ming said that you're very powerful. I didn't even have the chance to fight back under your hands. I taught him personally, so I naturally know his strength. I didn't believe it before, but now I do. You're very strong. My arms have been dislocated, and I don't have the ability to fight anymore." "You're Wolfhead?" asked Tan Xiao with a frown. Wolfhead forced a smile and said, "It's me." Tan Xiao's taut nerves relaxed as he lightly said, "You're very punctual. You came to Star City within 3 days. But I want to know, what's your relationship with those assassins?" Wolfhead shook his head and said, "We don't have any relationship. After we investigated your information, we found out that there's another group of people monitoring you. Those people are obviously well-trained assassins, and 2 of them are not from our country. After our investigation, we found out that they came to our country from abroad, and their goal is to assassinate you." Tan Xiao said, "So you want to use them to test my strength?" Wolfhead said, "That's right. If you can't even solve this crisis, what qualifications do you have to be our boss?" Tan Xiao nodded and said, You've witnessed my strength. What's your conclusion? Wolfhead said, the only condition is that you can find the real culprit behind the scenes and solve this matter thoroughly. We, this group of people, will follow you later. All right, Tan Xiao said. Wolfhead hesitated and said, however, once we follow you, I'm afraid we'll bring you trouble. It's because our identity is too special, and we have strength that ordinary people can't compare with. Therefore, some people will be monitoring us in the dark. We came to Star City this time to find a way to get rid of those people and quietly lurk here. Country's people? Tan Xiao raised his brows and asked. Wolfhead nodded and said, yes, the Special Operations Group. Tan Xiao said, it's not a problem for me. You've already been freed from your original identity, and I won't let you stay in the country. Going abroad? Wolfhead was surprised. Tan Xiao said, that's right. I bought a private island in the Pacific Ocean. I need someone to guard it. Your strength is not bad, so you should be able to guarantee the safety there. Wolfhead looked at Tan Xiao with an astonished expression and whispered, you want to form a private armed force? That's right. Tan Xiao nodded calmly. Wolfhead said, we have no problem with it. This is our specialty. I want to know what kind of treatment you'll give us if we follow you. Tan Xiao said indifferently, that depends on what kind of form you're going to follow me. If you're really on my side, you won't hesitate even if I tell you to die. Naturally, the treatment will be the best. It can also be said that it's absolutely what you've been dreaming of. If you're only willing to be my ordinary subordinates, your treatment may be very good, but it'll only be a few times worse. Wolfhead looked deeply at Tan Xiao and said in a deep voice, you're very ambitious. Your conditions and your ambition terrify me. Tan Xiao sneered. That's because you're not strong enough. When you can blow up this planet with a punch, nobody here will be a threat to you. Wolfhead shook his head and couldn't deny it. Blow up Earth with a punch? What kind of joke was this? If he could blow up Earth with a punch, he would be able to move unhindered in the universe. He cursed inwardly as he looked at Tan Xiao and said, it doesn't matter what form it is. We'll talk about it later. For now, the first thing you have to do is to prove your strength. I'll let you see it. Tan Xiao turned around and walked toward the park's wall. Half an hour later, in a building a kilometer away from Southgate Town, someone gently knocked on the door. The rhythmic knock sounded 7 times before the door was opened from the inside. Inside the room, Wang Ming put down the binoculars in his hand and looked at the somewhat pale Wolfhead who came in. He asked in surprise, what happened to you? Wolfhead smiled bitterly. Under the gazes of the 5 people in the room, he forced a smile and said, I just exchanged a few moves with that Tan Xiao. You're right. He's very powerful. I've never seen a powerhouse like him in my life. All right, don't just stare blankly. My arms are dislocated. Quickly connect them. The 5 people in the room were greatly shocked. They looked incredulously at Wolfhead's dislocated arms as their heartbeat sped up by several beats. Among them, Wolfhead was fully deserving of being the strongest powerhouse. It was a pity that he wasn't Tan Xiao's match. Even his arms were dislocated. How strong was Tan Xiao? Everyone present. Perhaps, only Wang Ming could understand Tan Xiao's strength. With a wry smile, he quickly helped Wolfhead connect his arms and said with a wry smile, actually, I've already guessed that you're not Tan Xiao's match, Wolfhead. That guy's speed, strength, and reaction speed are too terrifying. I've tried my best, but I can't even touch his clothes. Wolfhead said, he's very strong. Wang Ming hesitated for a moment before asking, Wolfhead, what did you talk about? Wolfhead said, I've told him very clearly. If he can completely solve this crisis and prove his strength, then we can follow him later. If he can't solve it, then he's not worth following. However, he told me one thing. Once we follow him, he won't let us stay in the country. Won't stay in the country? Then where will we go? Wang Ming asked with a confused expression. Wolfhead said, he said that he bought a private island in the Pacific Ocean and wants us to be guards there. He wants to form an armed force that belongs to him. Wang Ming said with a strange expression, armed force? What does he want to do? Wolfhead shook his head and said, I don't know. Weekly asking for monthly votes. Chapter 188. Tan Xiao quietly returned to Southgate Town without alerting anyone. After returning to his room, he immediately took out his phone and dialed Miao Wentong's number. "Brother Tang, why haven't you gone to bed yet?" Miao Wentong's hearty laughter could be heard from the phone. "Not yet," said Tan Xiao. "I need to talk to you about something." Miao Wentong asked, "What is it?" "Say it." Tan Xiao said, "Are you short of money now? Do you want to make some money?" Miao Wentong said with a smile, "I'm short of money. I've never been short of money like I am now. What good business do you have, Brother Tang?" Tan Xiao said, "I have an enemy and I'm going to start with this family." He had already contacted some people and was preparing to make a move in a few days. "Are you interested in joining in?" Miao Wentong asked, "Which clan?" "Star City Zhang family," said Tan Xiao. Miao Wentong was silent for a moment and then slowly said, "I've never heard of this family. It shouldn't be some big family in the country. However, no matter what family the other party is, I'll naturally join in since Brother Tang has spoken. Do you want me to contact Brother Xiao?" "I'll contact him myself," said Tan Xiao. "If you're willing to join in, it's best if you come to Star City tomorrow. Let's meet at the Long's Dining Hall in Star City." "All right." Tan Xiao hung up the phone and dialed Xiao Mingjin's number. The answer he got was the same as Miao Wentong's. They all agreed to participate. Ouyang family. Tan Xiao put away his phone, feeling a little hesitant. Making a move against the Zhang family was absolutely a big move. Even though the Long family, Chen Jizhong, Miao Wentong, and Xiao Mingjin's four forces could join in, but the Zhang family was, after all, the local tyrant of Star City, with deep heritage. Their counterattack before they died was probably very powerful as well. He didn't know if he should pull the Ouyang clan into this. If the Ouyang clan was involved, he would owe them a favor. A debt of money was easy to repay, but a debt of gratitude was hard to repay. Tan Xiao did not like to owe others favors. However, for the sake of safety, he decided to talk to Ouyang Lulu first. Through the window, Tan Xiao looked at the white Land Rover parked in the yard and turned to leave the room. After arriving at Ouyang Lulu's guest room on the first floor, he reached out and knocked on the door. Creak. The door was opened from the inside. Ouyang Lulu, who was wearing sexy pajamas, stood inside the door with sleepy eyes. She muttered with dissatisfaction, "It's the middle of the night and you're not sleeping. What are you doing here?" "I'm only here to stay, not to give myself to you." Tan Xiao brushed past her, walked to the sofa in the guest room, and sat down. He said, "I want to talk to you about something serious. Go wash your face and sober up." Ouyang Lulu rolled her eyes at Tan Xiao and went to the bathroom to wash her face. After coming back, she was obviously much more spirited, but there was still a dissatisfied look on her beautiful face as she snorted and said, "Humph, what serious matter can't wait until tomorrow? Can't you see what time it is? It's 1 a.m. Tan Xiao straightforwardly said, "There's a big deal, are you interested?" "What big deal?" Ouyang Lulu was confused. Tan Xiao said, "It's not a serious business, but it's the kind that makes money fast. There's a family in Star City that has offended me, and I'm going to exterminate them. Their family is very rich and powerful. I've contacted several groups of people, and we're going to deal with that family together in a few days. Although your Ouyang family is not in Star City, your family has a deep heritage. If you want a piece of the pie, I can let you participate." "Which family?" Ouyang Lulu asked curiously. "The Zhang family," Tan Xiao said lightly. "I heard Jingyu talk about this family. They have some friction with the Long family. The Long family is one of the groups you contacted, right?" Tan Xiao nodded and said, "If we can exterminate the Zhang family, the Long family will benefit the most. It's a God-given opportunity. If Long Hanwen and Jingyu are not stupid, they will definitely join in." Ouyang Lulu pondered for a moment. She then sat opposite to Tan Xiao and asked, "Can you tell me how the Zhang family offended you?" Tan Xiao calmly said, "I once taught a lesson to the Zhang family's proud daughter, Zhang Deqin. I also beat the Zhang family's young master twice. Yesterday, I took Yinin outside to buy stationery and were targeted by 3 assassins. Although I killed those 3 assassins, I also paid a big price to figure out that Zhang Deqin was the mastermind behind the scenes. Since she wants me dead, do you think I should kill them? Ouyang Lulu was surprised. So you killed those 3 people who died at the South Gate Town's gate today? They turned out to be assassins? Yeah, I heard that there were guns left at the scene of the crime, so those people are not good people. I have to go back and discuss this matter with my family. After all, this is a big deal. Tan Xiu said. Tomorrow night, Long's Dining Hall. If your Ouyang family wants to join us, we'll meet at the Long's Dining Hall. Ouyang Lulu asked. You haven't told me who else will join us besides the Long family. Tan Xiu said, the Long family, Chen Jizhong, and my other 2 friends. They have some forces, but I don't know their specific strength. Ouyang Lulu was surprised. You didn't look for Chu Yi and Bai Tao? Tan Xiu said. Their families are in the imperial capital. Perhaps they also have some hostile families. So they don't need to participate in this matter. Ouyang Lulu was, after all, the eldest daughter of her family. She was able to understand the problem. She nodded and said, That's right. Their Chu family and the Bai family are very close, but there are still some big families in the imperial capital that are a threat to them. If they are caught by their opponents, I'm afraid their 2 families will be in big trouble. Star City, Jianing District. Inside a magnificent 3-story villa, Zhang Deqin was nestled on a soft sofa with a glass of red wine in her hand, but she didn't drink even half a mouthful. Her complexion was unsightly, and her heart was full of worry. In front of her, her younger brother, Zhang Yongjin, was anxiously pacing back and forth. His eyes swept over Zhang Deqin's mobile on the coffee table from time to time. They were waiting for the news that the enemy had been eliminated. However, it was already late at night, yet there was not even the slightest news. Can you not show yourself in front of me? Go to sleep if you can't stand it. I'll solve this matter. Zhang Deqin reprimanded in an irritated tone. Zhang Yongjin stopped and sat in front of Zhang Deqin. He grabbed a cigarette and lit it up. After taking a few deep puffs, he said, Sis, will there be any unforeseen event? It's already late at night. How come there's no news at all? Aren't those assassins you hired very powerful? Zhang Deqin angrily snorted. You ask me, but who am I supposed to ask? Zhang Yongjin hesitated. The murder case at the entrance of South Gate Town, could it be related to that surname Tang? I heard that 3 people died. Maybe it's that surname Tang and his relatives. Zhang Deqin also received the news, but she still couldn't determine who had died. She had spent 20 million to hire assassins from the Philippines. The other party only told her that they would help her eliminate the target, but they didn't say how many people would be sent. What made her restless was not that she couldn't kill Tan Xiu, but she was worried that those assassins would be killed, and the middleman would sell her out. If Tan Xiu didn't die, and if he knew that she was the one who hired the assassins, then her fate would be very miserable. Ring, ring, ring. The cell phone's ringtone sounded, startling the anxious Zhang siblings. Zhang Deqin quickly grabbed the cell phone and saw the caller's number on the screen. She immediately pressed the answer button and asked with a sinking tone, Have you investigated it? Who are the 3 people killed outside the South Gate Town's entrance? Their identities are unknown. They shouldn't be from our country. A deep and low voice came from the phone. It's over. Zhang Deqin's cell phone fell to the ground, but she didn't seem to notice it. If the 3 people who were killed were not from her country, then they should be the assassins she hired. They shouldn't have sold me out, right? They shouldn't have. I didn't contact those assassins, but there's a middleman. As long as the middleman didn't sell me out, I'm absolutely safe. She quickly picked up the cell phone and dialed the middleman's cell number, but she was at a loss as the other party's cell phone was turned off. What's going on? Zhang Deqin looked at Zhang Yongjin with blank eyes. A few minutes later, she suddenly got up from the sofa, looked at Zhang Yongjin, and hurriedly said, Leave Star City overnight. Remember, even if something big happens in Star City, you're not allowed to come back in a short time. Go to northern Jiangsu. I have a friend in northern Jiangsu. She'll shelter you for some time. Zhang Yongjin asked in a panic, Big sis, what's going on? We're obviously the ones who hired the assassins to kill them. How come the situation seems to be reversed? Zhang Deqin said with a bitter expression, I have a bad premonition. I'm afraid this matter will be very troublesome. Listen to me. You don't need to think or ask anything. Leave Star City overnight and go to northern Jiangsu to find my friend. Quickly pack your things. Zhang Yongjin hurriedly asked, Big sis, what about you? Zhang Deqin shook her head and said, I can't leave. First, we still can't be sure whether Tanxiu knows that I'm the one who hired the assassins. Second, our family is here and we have our family's protection, so I should be fine. I'll try my best to appear in public in the next few days and bring more bodyguards with me. Third, even if that Tanxiu knows that I hired the assassins, he won't dare to do anything to me openly. Otherwise, he'll be well aware that our Zhang family will retaliate fiercely. Zhang Yongjin said, Big sis, I won't leave either. If Tanxiu doesn't dare to retaliate against you, I believe he won't dare to retaliate against me either. Let's leave together and stay together. Zhang Deqin felt warm inside, but she still angrily shouted, Cut the crap. I've decided that you must leave overnight. I'll explain it to Dad and Mom. Zhang Yongjin angrily said, I don't need your explanation. I'm not leaving. Don't even think about threatening me. I'm a man and I must stay in Star City. Zhang Deqin sneered. Do you want me to send someone to kidnap you? Or do you want me to obediently leave? It's your choice. Today's 4th chapter has ended. Weeping for monthly votes and subscription support. Silent night thanks. Chapter 189. At the Star City Criminal Police Unit. Even though it was already early in the morning, the entire office building of the Criminal Police Unit was still brightly lit. A large number of police officers were coming in and out, along with flashing police lights, coming in and out. On the second floor of the office building, a pungent smell of smoke wafted in the smoke-filled office. The City Public Security Bureau's chief Deng Jianmin held a cigarette between his fingers as he frowned and looked at the more than 20 members of the Criminal Police Unit in the office. Our superiors have given us a death order. We must solve this case within 3 days. I don't care what method you use, but you must find the murderer as soon as possible. Deng Jianmin said with a gloomy face. Cheng Xuemei forced a smile and said, Chief, we also want to solve this case as soon as possible. But this case is too special. We don't have any information about these people in the archives. If we can confirm that they are foreigners, we can only contact Interpol to get more clues. Deng Jianmin said, I've already reported the situation. I believe we can contact Interpol soon. As long as we can confirm that these people are foreigners, it means that they are international killers just like we speculated. Since they died near the Southgate Town's gate, I think their target is inside the Southgate Town's villa complex. Did you copy the surveillance video of the residents going in and out of the Southgate Town's gate yesterday? I've copied it. Cheng Xuemei said. Deng Jianmin said, Play it. We'll screen out the suspicious targets. All right. Cheng Xuemei complied. Due to the fast playback on the monitor screen, the scene of Tang Xiu holding Gu Yin's hand and leaving was broadcasted 10 minutes later. Wait. Cheng Xuemei's complexion slightly changed as she immediately shouted. Deng Jianmin asked with a confused expression. Captain Cheng, did you find something wrong? Cheng Xuemei said to the broadcaster. Rewind the video and freeze the scene on the 2 people who just came out. Deng Jianmin watched the video. A few seconds later, he frowned and said, Doesn't this young man look familiar? I think I've seen him somewhere. Chief Deng, he's Tanxiu, said Cheng Xuemei in a deep voice. Deng Jianmin's pupils shrunk as he suddenly got up and said in a deep voice, he was also implicated in the massacre of those A-rank wanted criminals in the previous major case. In the school case, he was the one who killed the A-class fugitive who had kidnapped a student. How could he appear in Southgate Town? Cheng Xuemei shook her head and said, he lives in Southgate Town. Looking at how he was holding the little girl's hand, it seemed like he wasn't the only one living in Southgate Town. It's been more than an hour since the 3 assassins were killed. Continue to play the surveillance video, said Deng Jianmin in a deep voice. As the surveillance video played, everyone present furrowed their brows. Not long after, Tang Xiu returned to the villa complex with the little girl. They saw Tang Xiu go in with their own eyes. Until the 3 killers were killed, Tang Xiu did not come out. Not him. A criminal police member shook his head and said. Cheng Xuemei sneered. As far as I know, Tanxiu's kung fu is quite good. If he climbed over the wall and left the villa, who can be sure that he's not the one who killed the 3 killers? The criminal police member said. Captain Chung, we got the surveillance video of the entire Southgate town. There are CCTV cameras all around the villa. According to the person in charge of the Southgate town's property management office, there are almost no blind spots in the entire villa. In other words, if there's no footage of Tan Xiu leaving the villa, then he can be ruled out as a suspect. Continue to watch. Deng Jianmin said in a deep voice. 3:30 a.m. All the surveillance videos of Southgate town had been watched, and it was finally confirmed that Tan Xiu did not leave Southgate town. With a puzzled expression, Cheng Xuemei said, if this case is not done by Tan Xiu, then who is it? We've compared every resident who came in and out, and almost everyone has been ruled out. Deng Jianmin's fingers tapped on the table. After a long silence, he slowly said, Captain Cheng, you go to Southgate town tomorrow and ask Tan Xiu to cooperate with us. Cheng Xuemei forced a smile and said, Chief Deng, Tan Xiu's character is too, he's not easy to get along with. Besides, we don't have any evidence to prove that he's the one who did this. I don't think it's appropriate to rashly ask him to cooperate with the investigation. The most important thing for us now is to find the clues. Once we identify the target, we can proceed further with the investigation. She didn't forget that she had asked Tan Xiu to cooperate with the investigation in the previous case, but the result was nothing. This time she also had the same feeling. Even if she went to look for Tan Xiu, she was afraid that she wouldn't get any useful information from Tan Xiu. Deng Jianmin said, let's go. Regardless of whether he's the murderer or not, it can serve as a deterrent. There have been too many major cases in Star City recently. If it goes on like this, not only will I not be able to sit in my position as the chief, but you will also be severely punished. Cheng Xuemei rubbed her head, feeling a bit of a headache. Under Deng Jianmin's gaze, she had no choice but to nod. Life. For a lot of people, it was ordinary and ordinary. But there were also some people who lived a particularly wonderful life. Perhaps it was a success, perhaps it was a failure. Their life was full of misfortune and fortune. Tan Xiu had experienced too many things in the past 2 months, since he returned from the immortal world. Sometimes he wanted to stop and rest, but the wheel of fate didn't allow him to control it as it took the initiative to push him forward. However, he was a brave man. The 10,000 years in the immortal world had long sharpened his heart like a stone. Inside the villa's warehouse, Tan Xiu was concocting a drug, corpse-dissolving powder. This drug was a good thing to destroy corpses and erase traces in the immortal world. As long as it was poured on a corpse, it would turn the corpse into a puddle of stinky water. Even the clothes would not be left. Early in the morning, Tan Xiu went back to his room and slept until noon. After washing up, he went to the living room on the first floor and found Long Hanwen sitting in the hall on the first floor, drinking tea. Long Jingyu was quietly sitting opposite him, looking at the documents in his hand. Uncle Long, when did you come? Tan Xiu went forward to greet him. Long Hanwen squinted his eyes as he deeply observed Tan Xiu and said, I just came here not long ago. I went to collect some information in the morning, and then came here. This house is good. Are you used to living here? Not bad, Tan Xiu said. Long Jingyu closed the documents in his hand and handed them to Tan Xiu, saying, I didn't expect my dad to have already sent people to collect the things you want. Moreover, it's very complete. Therefore, I added what I could in the morning. Also, this is the contract my dad made overnight. You can also take a look at it. Tan Xiu took the documents and carefully looked at the Zhang family's situation. He had to admit that compared to the Zhang family, he simply paled in comparison and was not worth mentioning. The total assets of the Zhang family alone were estimated to be more than 20 billion yuan. As for the cards they had in their hands, even Long Hanwen's investigation didn't have them. Subsequently, Tan Xiu looked at the contract made by Long Hanwen overnight. After reading it, his expression was a bit strange as he said with a smile, Opportunities are given to those who are prepared. It seems that Uncle Long is well prepared. Although I don't know much about this contract, I can see a problem. If the Zhang family signs this contract, I'm afraid they will have big trouble once they have a shortage of funds. Long Hanwen raised his brows and asked, "You can only see this?" Tan Xiao said, "What I'm talking about is this contract. I haven't said anything else. Or rather, it's the doubt in my heart. Your Long family and the Zhang family are competitors, and there are constant frictions between the younger generation. What assurance do you have that the Zhang family will sign this contract?" Long Hanwen said with a smile, "The world is bustling for benefits, and the world is bustling for benefits. What was a businessman? Businessmen were a group that pursued profit. The head of the Zhang family, Zhang Fengxian, was a fickle and heartless person. Even if it was his family, he would betray them if he was given enough benefits. As for this contract, once the cooperation was successfully completed, the Zhang family would have a net profit of at least 1 billion yuan. Do you think Zhang Fengxian won't be tempted? In addition, this contract was only the first phase of the cooperation plan. There were still follow-up projects that needed cooperation. As long as Zhang Fengxian isn't a fool, he will definitely sign it." Tan Xiao said, "What you said makes sense. However, there was still a more crucial problem. They were the Hu family and the Shui family. I heard some news that the Hu family and the Shui family are not as strong as the Zhang family, but if they join forces with the Zhang family, I'm afraid it will be very troublesome." Long Hanwen replied with a serious expression, "This is also what I'm worried about. Therefore, I came to find you this time to listen to your plan. Since you want to set up a trap, I'm afraid you already have an idea." "I don't know much about commercial wars." Tan Xiao shook his head. "But I have a way to ruin the reputation of the Zhang family in a short time. Doesn't the Zhang group have shares? If their reputation is damaged, I'm afraid the stock price will depreciate significantly. Furthermore, I can guarantee that the Zhang family's patriarch Zhang Fengxian, as well as several other key members of the Zhang family, will disappear at the same time. Without a leader, I believe our plan will be implemented smoothly." "Are you sure?" Long Hanwen asked in a deep voice. "I'm not 100% sure, but I'm 99% sure." Tan Xiao replied without hesitation. Long Hanwen replied with a deep voice, "If that's the case, then the Long family will agree to this deal. Now tell me, aside from our Long family and Chen Jizhong, which other forces will participate in this?" "I'm not sure about the Ouyang family," Tan Xiao said. "But I can confirm that there are 4 groups of forces. Your Long family, Chen Jizhong, and my other 2 friends, Miao Wentong and Xiao Mingjin." Long Hanwen was shocked. "You know Miao Wentong? The patriarch of the Miao family in Haiqing province, and the big boss of the Miao group? Sai, let's update it together. I'm too lazy to separate the time." Chapter 190. Tan Xiao nodded and said, "I know him. We've experienced several things together and established a friendship. I've contacted him last night, and he agreed to join us." Long Hanwen said with an inconceivable expression, "I have a friend from Haiqing province. His business is also very big, but it pales in comparison to the Miao group. It's not worth mentioning. Although Miao Wentong is very mysterious, his identity is well known. He's a well-known figure in Haiqing province." Tan Xiao said, "I don't know about his fame." Long Hanwen laughed heartily and said, "Tan Xiao, I was worried that you would invite some people with no weight to join us. But now it seems that my worries were groundless. Our Long family, Chen Jizhong, and Miao Wentong are enough to suppress the Zhang family and make them unable to breathe. As for the one you said, Xiao Mingjin, I've never heard of this name. Where is he from? What business does he do?" Tan Xiao said, "He's from northern Jiangsu. He runs a venture capital company. As for whether he has other identities or other companies, I don't know. Moreover, Xiao Mingjin and Miao Wentong are old friends. They can be said to be brothers who have gone through fire and water together." Long Hanwen sighed and said, "To be able to become Long Hanwen's brother, this Xiao Mingjin must have a great background. When will they arrive here?" Tan Xiao said, "I've made an appointment with them to meet at the Long's dining hall this evening. When the time comes, we'll get together and formulate a good plan." Long Hanwen frowned. After pondering for a moment, he said, If possible, I think it's best if we don't meet at the Long's Dining Hall. Don't forget that the Long's Dining Hall is the highest standard hotel in the entire Star City. Countless eyes are staring at it. With so many of us gathering there, the Zhang family will certainly hear about it. Tan Xiu said. Then, where shall we meet? Long Hanwen said. For the sake of absolute confidentiality, we'll meet at Lakeview Manor. Lakeview Manor is owned by an old friend of mine. We're like brothers who have gone through life and death together. I also have shares there. In addition, there are only a few guests and the security system is very strict. Tan Xiu nodded and said, Then I'll inform them again. Long Hanwen said with a smile, When will the Ouyang family give us the accurate information? Tan Xiu looked at the direction of the kitchen. He got up and walked over asking, Sis Mu, when did Ouyang Lulu leave? Mu Qingping said with a smile, He left early in the morning. She said she wanted to go back to Jingmen Island, but she didn't even bring her luggage. Tan Xiu nodded and took out his mobile phone to dial Ouyang Lulu's number. 10 seconds later, the call was connected and Ouyang Lulu's voice came from the phone. 2 hours. My brother and I will arrive at Star City in 2 hours. If you have anything to say, let's talk when we meet. All right. After hanging up the phone, Tan Xiu came to the living room and said, Ouyang Lulu and her brother will arrive in Star City in 2 hours. A smile was outlined on the corner of Long Hanwen's mouth as he said, Ouyang Lei is the successor of the Ouyang family, and a rising star in the business world. After he took over the Ouyang family's business, he had done a few very good big cases. Every time he brought great benefits to the Ouyang family. Since he has come personally, I'm afraid the Ouyang family will also board our ship. Long Zhengyu suddenly interjected. With the cooperation of 5 forces, the Zhang family will surely die this time. Even if the Hu and Shui families help, I'm afraid they won't be able to protect the Zhang family. Tan Xiu shook his head and said, Wrong. It's 6 forces. Long Zhengyu was surprised and asked, Who else? Tan Xiu pointed to himself and said with a faint smile, Don't tell me my magnificent Tang Corporation is a vegetarian? Although we don't have much capital, we have people. My people are the key to the plan. Long Zhengyu couldn't help laughing and said, Brother Tang, I was wrong. I heard you have a group of very powerful men. Even the security guards of South Gate Town are not their opponents. Did Long Xiuyao tell you about it? Tan Xiu said. Yes, I do have a group of men, and they will be the ones to handle this matter. Brother Tang, who exactly are they? Asked Long Zhengyu. How did you win them over? Tan Xiu smiled and didn't answer Long Zhengyu's question. He didn't want outsiders to know about the secret between him and the Everlasting Feast Hall. As a matter of fact, he could pull the Everlasting Feast Hall into this plan. But the significance of the Everlasting Feast Hall's existence was to protect Gu Yan. Therefore, he couldn't let anything happen to the Everlasting Feast Hall. Suddenly, Long Hanwen said, Tang Xiu, have you ever thought about pulling Yuan Zhengxian along? I heard you have a deep relationship with him. Tan Xiu was silent for a moment before he shook his head and said, I don't have much relationship with Yuan Zhengxian. I only have a good relationship with his son. Besides, his business is very special, so there's no need to pull him this time. Long Hanwen nodded and said, His military business is indeed not suitable. However, as long as we leak a bit of information to him, I'm afraid he can help us. Don't tell me you think we can't destroy the Zhang family with so many people? Tan Xiu asked back. Long Hanwen stared blankly for a moment before he shook his head and no longer spoke. In fact, he had long wanted to destroy the Zhang family. As long as the Zhang family was destroyed, he could dominate the real estate business in Star City and share a bigger cake. He knew that Tang Xiu had already seen through his thoughts through the plan. But he didn't care. As long as he could destroy the Zhang family, he was willing to take the lead. However, he was still a bit shocked. He didn't expect that Tan Xiu, who had just taken the college entrance test, could have such a strong network. Even he himself couldn't do it in this aspect. Otherwise, he would have already started to lay out a plan to deal with the Zhang family. Lunchtime. Long Hanwen and Long Zhengyu didn't stay. After they left in a hurry, they rushed to the Lakeview Manor to arrange a secret meeting in the evening. Tan Xiu, there are policemen visiting outside. Mu Qingping came to Tan Xiu's bedroom and reported in a low voice. Policemen? Tan Xiu had long expected that the police would come, but he didn't expect that they would come so fast. However, everything must be based on evidence. He believed that when he killed the 3 assassins, he had done it very cleanly. As long as Wolfhead and the others didn't sell him out, the police wouldn't be able to find him. I'll go down to see them. Tan Xiu replied and then left the room. In the hall on the first floor, Cheng Xuemei and a young criminal police officer were sitting in the living room, waiting. They didn't touch the tea placed in front of them. Captain Cheng. Tan Xiu came to the first floor. After seeing Cheng Xuemei, he pretended to be surprised and called out. Cheng Xuemei stood up and looked at Tan Xiu with an indifferent expression. Then she said, Mr. Tang, I took the liberty to disturb you, please don't blame me. We're now investigating a murder case that happened outside your villa complex in Southgate Town. We found that you live here through the surveillance video, so we want to know something from you. I hope you can cooperate with us. Tan Xiu said with a smile, I'll cooperate. I'll definitely cooperate. Cheng Xuemei asked, We saw from the villa complex's surveillance video that you left the villa complex yesterday afternoon, but you came back soon. I want to know, did you go out again after you came back? Tan Xiu shook his head and said, After I came back yesterday, I read for a while, and then slept for a while. I didn't step out of the house even half a step. Cheng Xuemei said, May I ask, what did you go out for yesterday? Tan Xiu said, I took my apprentice to buy tutoring materials. The stationery store owner in the nearby commercial street can prove it. Cheng Xuemei frowned and said, Then have you heard about the murder case that happened in front of your villa complex's entrance? Tan Xiu nodded and said, A friend of mine stayed at my house yesterday, and I heard about it from her. I heard that 3 people died, and they were shot to death. I really don't know how the deterrent force of the police has become so low now. Recently, there have been a lot of murders in Star City, and you have a lot of responsibility. Cheng Xuemei felt helpless inside. She knew that looking for Tang Xiu would be of no use at all. She couldn't find even the slightest clue. This guy. He didn't look like a young man at all, but more like a cunning old fox. Subsequently, Cheng Xuemei asked a few more questions, but she still didn't get any results. Therefore, she looked at Tan Xiu and said, I've asked all my questions. Thank you for your cooperation. We still have something to do, so we'll take our leave first. Tan Xiu said with a smile. Captain Cheng, why are you in such a hurry to leave? Why don't you have dinner first? My housekeeper's cooking skills are absolutely top-notch. I guarantee that you'll have a big appetite and your mouth will be full of oil. Cheng Xuemei was amused and angry at the same time and said, Do you think I have the leisure to stay here and have dinner? Right now, I'm so overwhelmed by this case that I haven't slept a wink since yesterday. But you actually have a housekeeper. It seems that you've changed a lot in the last 2 months. Everyone needs to move forward. Tan Xiu said with a smile, I've recently started a small business and made some money. Otherwise, I'm afraid that the appearance you see now is still the same as the first time we met. Cheng Xuemei recalled the first time she met Tan Xiu. She immediately nodded and said, You're very good. Not only did you share your mother's worries, but you also strive hard. That's right. Thank you for tutoring my younger sister. We're classmates, so we should love each other. Tan Xiu waved and said, Love each other? Cheng Xuemei looked at Tan Xiu with a strange expression. She felt that there was another profound meaning in his words. Could it be that her younger sister and Tan Xiu? Cheng Xuemei's heartbeat sped up. She stared at Tan Xiu with a serious expression and asked, You and my younger sister should only have a pure classmate relationship before, right? No. Tan Xiu shook his head. Cheng Xuemei's expression changed and her tone turned stern as she said with a heavy tone, Then what's the relationship between the two of you? My younger sister is still young, and it's not suitable for her to fall in love at such a young age. Tan Xiu was at a loss whether he had to cry or laugh as he said, I said we're not just classmates, but that's because we're friends. What are you thinking? Even if I like women, I won't like a little girl who hasn't fully developed. You, on the other hand, are quite good. Think about it. How about marrying me after I graduate from college and giving birth to a child for me? Chapter 191. Go to Hell. Cheng Xiaomei realized that she had misunderstood Tan Xiao and felt apologetic. But after hearing Tan Xiao's words, she was at a loss whether to laugh or cry. Then a smile appeared on her face as she scolded him. Tan Xiao looked at Cheng Xiaomei. He found that Cheng Xiaomei was wearing a police uniform, looking valiant and formidable looking. Coupled with her beautiful appearance, she was indeed somewhat attractive. What made him most satisfied was that Cheng Xiaomei's buttocks were very big. It was said that big buttocks could give birth to children. If he were to marry her in the future, he wouldn't have to worry about having children. If there's an opportunity, I'll take you to see my mother. I'm sure she'll be very satisfied with you. Tang Xiao replied with half-truths and half-lies. Cheng Xiaomei rolled her eyes as she shook her head and walked toward the door of the hall. She was now full of curiosity toward Tan Xiao. She couldn't wait to open his skull and see what was inside. Going with him to see his parents? What a joke! With a smile on his face, Tan Xiao watched Cheng Xiaomei and Cheng Xiaomei leave. When the two figures disappeared through the door, his expression turned gloomy. He took out his mobile and dialed Kang Xia and Chen Zhizhong's numbers. After telling them to go to Southgate Town, he turned around and returned to the second floor. An hour later, Kang Xia and Chen Zhizhong came to the villa. Tan Xiao took them to the study room. Mu Qingping served tea, and then closed the door from the outside. Then Tan Xiao said with a serious expression, Chen Zhizhong, Long Hanwen should have contacted you, right? Chen Zhizhong nodded and said, he contacted me last night. I've also begun to prepare. Once we move, we'll go all out. Tan Xiao said, there are some people coming today. I'll introduce them to you in the evening. With a puzzled expression, Kang Xia asked, Boss, what's going on? What do you mean once we move? Go all out? I don't understand. I've joined forces with 5 forces to deal with Star City's Zhang family. Tan Xiao said indifferently. Why? Kang Xia was surprised. Tan Xiao said, there was a murder case in Star City today. It happened at the entrance of Southgate Town. You should know about it, right? Kang Xia nodded and said, I heard about it. It seems like 3 people died. Tan Xiao sneered, I killed those 3 people. What? Kang Xia was startled. Tan Xiao said, those 3 people are killers. They were hired by Zhang Deqin, the eldest daughter of the Zhang family. They wanted to kill me. Kang Xia, you should be clear about the grudge between me and them. My style of doing things is that if people don't offend me, I won't offend them. If people offend me, I'll definitely offend them. Since the eldest daughter of the Zhang family wants my life, then I'm not going to show any mercy. Kang Xia angrily said, how dare that Zhang Deqin? Tan Xiao sneered, how dare I? She had done it. Do you know why I asked you for that 200 million? He had bought the information of the mastermind from the killer's contact. I spent 200 million. Do you think I'll swallow this insult and humiliation? Kang Xia suddenly understood. She hesitated for a moment before she nodded and said, what do you want me to do, boss? Tan Xiao said, I want you to be my spokesperson to discuss the conditions with the other 5 parties. Once the Zhang family is uprooted, we'll have to share some of their assets. Also, I've called the 20 security guards I handed over to you before and asked them to do some things. Which 5 parties? Kang Xia asked. Tan Xiao pointed to Chen Zhizhong and said, he's one of them. There's also the Long family, the Ouyang family, and my other 2 friends. You can see them tonight. A glint flashed in Kang Xia's eyes as she asked, Boss, are you the one who started this? Yes, Tan Xiao replied. A smile appeared on Kang Xia's face as she nodded and said, I know what to do, boss. Quickly, Ouyang Lulu and Ouyang Lei rushed to Southgate Town. After they came to the villa and saw Tan Xiao for the first time, Ouyang Lei opened his arms with a cordial expression and said with a smile, Future brother-in-law, I know you have a big plan and the Ouyang family wants to join in. So my family sent me here. This time, we brothers will join hands and get rid of the Zhangs. Tan Xiao stepped back and avoided Ouyang Lei's embrace. With a strange expression, he looked at the blushing Ouyang Lulu and said with a forced smile, Your big brother Ouyang, right? I think you're mistaken. I'm not your future brother-in-law. What you said is not good for your sister's reputation. Ouyang Lei stared blankly for a moment. The smile on his face quickly receded as he glared at Tan Xiao and shouted, "What the hell are you talking about? You slept with my sister. Don't tell me you won't admit it after eating and wiping your mouth?" Tan Xiao was dumbfounded. I slept with her? You won't admit it after eating and wiping your mouth? When did I sleep with her? After reacting, Tan Xiao forced a smile and said, I think there's a misunderstanding here, no? Ouyang Lulu and I are just friends. We didn't. Shut up. Ouyang Lei shouted. He turned his head and fiercely glared at Ouyang Lulu, saying, What do you want me to say about you? You've been abandoned by him, haven't you? Come home with me. See if I don't tell Dad and Mom about this and let them teach you a lesson. With a bit of anger and shame on her face, Ouyang Lulu loudly said, Brother, you're the one talking nonsense here. How many times have I told you that Tan Xiao and I are really friends, just a little better than ordinary friends? It's your own misunderstanding. Yet you still want to teach me a lesson? Ouyang Lei frowned as he looked at Ouyang Lulu, and then turned to look at Tan Xiao. After hesitating for a moment, he asked again, Are you really not? We're really not, said Tan Xiao. Ouyang Lei rolled his eyes and snorted. If you're not now, then let it be tomorrow. In any case, my parents have already recognized you as the son-in-law of the Ouyangs, so you can't run away from this identity. Tan Xiao, my sister has always had eyes on the top of her head. Now that she finally likes someone, you can't abandon her. Tan Xiao sighed helplessly. Ouyang Lei's random matchmaking was really a headache for him. If he wasn't Ouyang Lulu's brother, he would have thrown this guy out. In order not to be entangled in this topic, Tan Xiao said, Has your Ouyang family really decided to participate in this? That's right. Ouyang Lei said. How can we let our family members stand and watch when others bully us? Don't worry. A large number of people will come to Star City in the next 2 days. I came here ahead of time to prepare for them. Also, the family has used 5 billion yuan. Once we start the operation, the money I brought can be used immediately. What a big move. Tan Xiao secretly smiled wryly inside. He really couldn't stand Ouyang Lei's affectionate behavior. But one shouldn't slap a smiling face. After all, this guy came to help him, so he couldn't drive him away. Kong Xia, who was standing behind Tan Xiao, looked at Ouyang Lei with a displeased expression. If it wasn't because she couldn't flare up, she would have gone up and slapped him twice. Her boss and Ouyang Lulu didn't have any romantic feelings, yet he dared to talk nonsense. Somehow or other, ever since she had a direct confrontation with Ouyang Lulu, she couldn't bear to see Ouyang Lulu and Tan Xiao flirting with each other. The more Ouyang Lulu took the initiative, the more dissatisfied she was. If there were no outsiders at this moment, she really wanted to pull Tan Xiao's arm to show off to Ouyang Lulu and Ouyang Lei. In the evening, a group of 5 people drove to Lakeview Manor. The manor's boss was surnamed Sun, a stout middle-aged man with straight eyebrows and a mustache, which made him look quite funny. Welcome, everyone. Old Long has instructed us to take you directly to the innermost conference room when you arrive. If you have any request, you can summon the waiters at any time. Tonight's waiters are our own people, Sun Zhengquan said with a smile while leading the way. Chen Jizhong was a frequent visitor here, so he was the one to talk. Soon, Tan Xiao's group of 5 saw Long Hanwen and Long Zhengyu in the conference room. After exchanging greetings, everyone sat down in the conference room. Long Hanwen then asked, Tan Xiao, when will your 2 friends arrive? Tan Xiao looked at the time and said, They should be arriving soon. Sure enough. Just as Tan Xiao finished speaking, Sun Zhengquan, who had yet to leave, received a notice from the security personnel that Miao Wentong and Xiao Mingjin had arrived and were on their way here. I'm sorry we're late. Miao Wentong and Xiao Mingjin apologized after entering the conference room. Tan Xiao was the first to stand up. He looked at the 2 and said, We've just arrived. Let me introduce you, this is... A few minutes later, Tan Xiao introduced the 2 to everyone. After exchanging pleasantries, everyone talked about today's main purpose. Everyone, today's matter was provoked by me. The Zhang family must be destroyed because I don't want to always be remembered by others. I'm very grateful for everyone's help. If you need this Tan Xiu's help in the future, please don't hesitate to speak. Tan Xiu was the first to speak. Long Hanwen said with a smile. The Zhang family has long regarded our Long family as a thorn in their side. They can't wait to get rid of us. Now that there's an opportunity, I naturally won't give it up. Tan Xiu, everyone who came here today is one of us. Tell me what's our first move? Tan Xiu said. I'll tell you my initial idea. Then we'll brainstorm and formulate a perfect plan. The Zhang family is deeply rooted in Star City and has existed for decades. What we need to do now is to lure them with benefits. As long as the profit is big enough, the Zhang family naturally won't let us eat it alone. Coincidentally, I've cooperated with Long Zhengyu and Ouyang Lulu a few days ago to get a piece of land and prepare to build a building, and then, along with Tan Xiu's explanation, everyone nodded repeatedly. When Tan Xiu finished his explanation, Long Hanwen said with a smile, I'm afraid everyone's understanding of the Zhang family is not as good as mine. As the saying goes, the one who understands you the most is not your friend, but your enemy. Now that we're standing on the opposite side, I'll talk about my idea. For 2 hours, a group of people discussed in the conference room and quickly formulated a good plan. Moreover, everyone also reported the amount of capital they could contribute. Long Hanwen was rich, so he promised to give 5 billion. Chen Zhizhong also gave 2 billion. Ouyang Lei also brought 5 billion yuan, which added up to 12 billion yuan. No one knew where Miao Wentong and Xiao Mingjin got the money, but they also pooled together 3 billion. Even more so, they had arranged a large number of manpower. Whether it was military force or commercial warfare, they were all prepared. Chapter 192. Noon of the next day, Long Hanwen contacted the heads of the 4 banks in Star City and invited them to the Long's dining hall. He also revealed to them that he wanted to get a loan. The 4 banks wanted to cooperate with the Long Group and expressed that there was no problem. But when they learned the amount of the loan Long Hanwen wanted, each and every one of them hesitated. 5 billion for each bank, a total of 20 billion. Even the heads of the Star City's banks were shocked by Long Hanwen's generosity. Furthermore, when they heard that Long Hanwen had gathered 8 billion and was preparing to develop a big project, they were not happy at all. Instead, they were even more worried. A big project worth tens of billions. This was not a joking matter. If the project progressed smoothly, then it would be fine. But if the project went wrong, they simply couldn't afford the loss of 5 billion. Therefore, they just promised Long Hanwen that they would go back and think about it. At night, Long Hanwen invited a group of government officials to the Long's dining hall. During the banquet, he tried to curry favor with them and vaguely revealed that he was going to carry out a big project. It was expected that the plan would be ready in the next few days. At that time, he hoped that they would take care of the approval. These officials naturally hoped that Star City could have a better development. Coupled with their good personal relationship with Long Hanwen, they promised that they would take care of it. The third day, Long Hanwen and Long Zhengyu separately invited several rich big bosses in Star City and expressed their willingness to cooperate with them. But the conditions they gave were not particularly good. The big bosses didn't give a clear answer and just told Long Hanwen and Long Zhengyu to think about it. They would talk about it in a few days. While Long Hanwen was carrying out his plan, Tan Xiu and the others were not idle. Chen Zhizhong stood up and promised Long Hanwen that he would invest 200,000 yuan. Miao Wentong and Xiao Mingjin, on the other hand, scattered their people in the vicinity of the Zhang family's industries in Star City. Ouyang Lei, on the other hand, rushed to Blue City in the next 2 days. Under the introduction of several friends in Blue City, he came to Blue City and met with Long Hanwen at the Long's dining hall. As for the specific discussion between the two, many big bosses in Blue City's business circle revealed a well-aware look. Then, for some reason, someone took a picture of a building complex design with a mobile phone and spread it everywhere. Star City's Zhang family. Zhang Fengxian sat upright in his study, listening to the report of his secretary in front of him. His eyes flashed with a shrewd light. In front of him was a blueprint that had been printed by a printer. On the blueprint, There was an alternative building complex, and every design was almost perfect. That's all. After listening to the secretary's report, Zhang Fengxian finally moved his eyes away from the architectural complex design in front of him and asked calmly. The young secretary said, "That's all I found." Ouyang Lei and Long Hanwen were still in the Long's dining hall. The Ouyang family's development in Jingmen Island had reached its limit. If they wanted to expand their business, they must snatch food from other people. Therefore, when Ouyang Lei came to Blue City, he went straight to our Star City through someone's introduction and became friends with Long Hanwen. I think the possibility of them working together is higher. Zhang Fengxian asked thoughtfully, "How's the stock situation of Long's group?" The young secretary said, "It reached the upper limit today." Zhang Fengxian slowly stood up and carefully rolled up the architectural design on the table. Then he said, "Go call Deqin, tell her to come with me to the Long's dining hall." The young secretary agreed and left the study. 2 minutes later, Zhang Deqin appeared in the study with a pale complexion. She looked at Zhang Fengxian, who was standing by the window, and asked, "Dad, is there something you need from me?" Zhang Fengxian said, "Have you heard about the recent movements of the Long family?" Zhang Deqin nodded and said, "I've heard about it. As a matter of fact, Long Jingyu bought those lands as early as half a month ago. I knew that the Long family would make a big move, but I didn't expect it to be this fast." Zhang Fengxian asked, "You should have seen the architectural complex design, right? Tell me what you think." Zhang Fengxian said, "It's absolutely a wonderful work of art. If the Long family can really build all the buildings according to the requirements of the design, it will definitely cause a sensation throughout the country. No, it will probably cause a sensation all over the world. However, the funds needed to build it will be huge. Let alone the Long family. Even if there are 10 Long families, I'm afraid they won't be able to come up with that much money." Zhang Fengxian said lightly, "The Long family can't come up with that much money now, but the project can be done separately. If they divide the architectural complex into 10 or 20 phases, it will take a long time. It won't be a problem to completely build it. Furthermore, once this design is spread, once the Long family starts the project, I'm afraid that the commercial district, residential district, and all the real estate prices will soar. Even the Long family's stock will soar a lot. Do you think our Zhang family can get a piece of the cake if we join in?" Zhang Deqin's eyes lit up and asked, "Dad, do you want to cooperate with the Long family?" Zhang Fengxian nodded and said, "Cooperation is a must. If we let the Long family raise funds to start the project, our Zhang family will definitely be surpassed by them in the future. Both of us are businessmen, and businessmen pay attention to benefits. Since there are benefits, why can't we cooperate?" Tan Xiu's appearance appeared inside Zhang Deqin's mind. Thinking about the inextricable relationship between Tan Xiu and the Long family, she hesitated and said, "Dad, could it be a trap?" Zhang Fengxian sneered, "Trap? With Long Hanwen's ability, there's no way he can set a trap for our Zhang family. Otherwise, he'll have to be prepared to fall into it. Let's go. Come with me to the Long's dining hall." Zhang Fengxian said with a confused expression, "Why are we going to the Long's dining hall?" Zhang Fengxian said, "The Ouyang family in Jingmen Island wants to expand their business. Originally, they set their target in Blue City. But after being introduced by a friend in Blue City, they came to our Star City and joined hands with Long Hanwen. Since we're doing business, then we'll make money together. The Long family and the Ouyang family don't have the ability to take out such a huge sum of money to do business by themselves." Zhang Deqin was somewhat vigilant inside. But she knew her father's character. Once he made a decision, even if she had grasped some of the family's power, there was no way she could interfere with his decision. However, she still excused herself to change her clothes. Taking advantage of this time, she called her men and asked them to investigate Tan Xiu's whereabouts for the past 2 days. Just as she followed her father to the Long's dining hall, she received a report from her men that Tan Xiu had been staying in Southgate Town for the past 2 days and hadn't left even a step. Zhang Deqin felt relieved after getting this news. At the Long's dining hall, inside the spacious and bright presidential suite, Long Hanwen was holding a glass of red wine with a cigar dangling from the corner of his mouth, talking and laughing wittily with Ouyang Lei. In front of them was the architectural design sketched by Tan Xiu himself. Ding dong, the doorbell sounded. Ouyang Lei opened the door and saw Long Jingyu standing outside. He nodded and let him enter the room. Dad, I just received a call from 2 banks. They said that they can only lend us 2 billion yuan at most. The 2 banks have a total of 4 billion yuan. The interest is not low. Long Hanwen squinted his eyes and asked, how long? Long Jingyu said, 2 years. Long Hanwen said, tell them to either increase the loan to 3 years or reduce the interest. Otherwise, I'll borrow from other banks. Long Jingyu nodded. His eyes glanced at the door as he lowered his voice and said, I just received a report from our men. Zhang Fengxian and his daughter, Zhang Deqin, as well as several core members of the Zhang family have arrived at the Long's dining hall. If they're coming to our place, they should be arriving soon. Long Hanwen and Ouyang Lei looked at each other. Ouyang Lei said with a smile, the fish has taken the bait. Long Hanwen sneered and said, Zhang Fengxian is just like a fly. He'll find a chance to benefit from it. We've released so many rumors. If he's still indifferent, then he's not him. Ouyang Lei said with a smile, that brother-in-law of mine is also amazing. He's been staying in Southgate Town for 2 days after creating such a big commotion. It's as if he doesn't care about the success or failure of this matter. However, a young man has his own way of thinking. He has secretly hired a group of internet water army. Once our plan is carried out, I'm afraid that the internet will be flooded with reports that will smear the Zhang family's reputation. Long Hanwen nodded and said, internet propaganda is definitely a very influential way of spreading information. Recently, my men have been going all out to investigate the evil deeds done by the Zhang family. As long as we find the evidence, we'll hand it over to those internet water army. Ouyang Lei said with a smile, if I have children like Zhang Deqin and Zhang Yongjin in the future, I'll definitely strangle them as soon as possible, so that they won't bring disaster to the family. Long Hanwen said indifferently, there are all kinds of birds in the forest. As the saying goes, it's easy to conquer a country, but difficult to defend it. Once a black sheep appears in a family, I'm afraid the whole family will be implicated. The Zhang family has done a lot of evil deeds these years. It's time for them to receive their retribution. Ding dong. The doorbell rang again. Long Hanwen nodded to Long Jingyu. He looked at the latter as he walked to the door and opened it from the inside. Oh, isn't this Uncle Zhang? What kind of wind blew you here today? Long Jingyu saw the 5 people standing outside the door. His eyes finally fell on Zhang Fengxian as he greeted with a smile. Zhang Fengxian said with a smile, I heard your father was drinking here. How could this old friend not come and join in the fun? What's wrong? You're not going to invite me in? Long Jingyu hesitated for a moment before he said, Uncle Zhang, please come in. Zhang Fengxian nodded. After entering the living room of the presidential suite, he saw Long Hanwen and Ouyang Lei chatting on the sofa. Brother Long, you're in a good mood. We took the liberty to visit you. Did we disturb your hospitality? I've been locked up in the dark room for a whole day and almost couldn't come out. Fortunately, I finally completed today's task. I'm just asking for monthly votes. Chapter 193. Long Hanwen smiled as he got up to greet him and said, It's all right. Nephew Ouyang and I are almost done talking. It's been a long time since I've had a drink with Brother Zhang. How about we have dinner together? Zhang Fengxian said with a smile, No problem. I'll be the host tonight. This should be the business genius from Jingmen Island's Ouyang family, right? It's true that heroes come from the youths. Seeing is believing. Ouyang Lei said with a smile, You're overpraising me. Immediately he turned to Long Hanwen and asked, Uncle Long, who is this? Long Hanwen said with a smile, He's a great figure in Star City. Have you heard of the Star City's Zhang Group? He's the Zhang Group's boss, Zhang Fengxian. Ouyang Lei nodded casually and said with a smile, I've been looking forward to meeting you for a long time. After exchanging pleasantries, they then sat on the sofa in the living room. Zhang Fengxian could clearly see the original architectural design on the coffee table. However, after seeing Long Zhengyu hurriedly roll up the design and carefully put it into a box, he said with a smile, "Brother Long, we're straightforward people. I'm looking for you this time, because I want to buy this design. Just name your price." Long Hanwen's complexion changed. The smile on his face receded like a tide. With a somewhat hazy expression, Long Hanwen said with a fake smile, "Brother Zhang, you've got a good trick. You even know that I have this architectural design. It seems like a traitor has appeared around me. However, I've already filed this design on the internet, so I'm the owner. I won't sell it." Zhang Fengxian said, "Brother Long, you misunderstood. In fact, your architectural design has been photographed by someone with a mobile phone and spread out. Many people have seen it now. I also inadvertently found out about it." Long Hanwen's complexion changed as he shouted with a deep voice, "Zhengyu, what happened?" Long Zhengyu shook his head and said, "I don't know. This design has always been kept by me. Aside from you and Brother Ouyang, I guarantee that no one else has seen it." Long Hanwen asked with a deep voice, "If it wasn't leaked out from our hands, then who did it? Could it be?" Long Zhengyu forced a smile and said, "It shouldn't be. That master designer has always had a good reputation. It took him half a year to design this architectural design for us." Zhang Fengxian laughed and said, "Brother Long, it's useless to pursue the responsibility now. Since you are the owner of this design, no one can take it away from you even if it is spread all over the world. Since you don't want to sell the design, you must want to start the project yourself, right? Also, I heard that you've been in contact with a few bank presidents these days, and you've even met some big shots in the officialdom?" Long Hanwen snorted and said, "It seems like there's no such thing as an impenetrable wall in this world. I've been careful enough, but I didn't expect someone with ulterior motives to find out." Zhang Fengxian laughed and said, "Brother Long, don't be hostile towards me. I came to find you with the idea of a win-win situation for both of us. I've seen this blueprint before. It's quite a large project. Not only are there residential areas, but there are also commercial areas. There are even dozens of buildings that are nearly 100 meters tall. It's a huge project. So what I mean is, let's cooperate." Long Hanwen frowned and said, "You also want a piece of the cake?" Zhang Fengxian said with a serious expression, "Brother Long, your Long family will not be able to swallow such a big project. If we cooperate, I'm sure the project will progress smoothly. Furthermore, our two families are the leaders in the real estate industry in Star City. Once we cooperate, it will bring us great benefits." Long Hanwen forced a smile and said, "You're right. I also know that our Long family can't swallow this big cake alone. However, Jingmen Island's Ouyang family wants to cooperate with me. If we start the project in stages, although it will take more time, I'm afraid the profit will also be quite considerable. So," Zhang Fengxian waved his hand to interrupt Long Hanwen, and said with a sinking tone, "Brother Long, time is money. The earlier we finish the big project, the earlier we can withdraw the funds. Since the Ouyang family wants to cooperate, I have no problem with it. We only need to sign a tripartite agreement to jointly fund and start the project. Coincidentally, my Zhang family's recent properties have almost been sold, and the funds have all been withdrawn. We can easily take out several billion yuan." Long Hanwen raised his brows as he looked at Ouyang Lei. Ouyang Lei pondered for a moment and slowly said, "Since the Zhang group has enough funds, then our Ouyang family also has no problem. However, I still have a request to start the project in a short period of time. In addition, our three parties will jointly fund the project, and the person from each party will be the person in charge." This, Long Hanwen and Zhang Fengxian looked at each other with hesitation on their faces. Ouyang Lei slowly said, "My family can invest 5 billion yuan, and I've brought the money. It can be invested into the project at any time. But both of you are Star City's local enterprises, so I must be cautious in cooperating with you. Therefore, I suggest that our three parties determine the amount of investment funds, and the three parties will jointly manage the investment funds. Also, the agreement must clearly state that no one is allowed to withdraw the funds before the project is completed. I don't want such a situation to happen. because it will affect the implementation of the entire project. Long Hanwen was surprised and said, "You mean all three of us will form a management team? Isn't this too absurd? A group of dragons without a leader is bound to affect the project." Zhang Fengxian also understood this truth, as he nodded and said, "Nephew Ouyang, you've never been involved in the real estate business, right? A management team formed by 3 parties will be very troublesome if we encounter any problems during the project. Each of us will have our own reasons, and no one is willing to listen to anyone. So, I suggest that we elect an CEO. Someone who will be fully responsible for this project." Ouyang Lei pondered for a long while before he slowly said, "If we want to elect an CEO, then I must find this person. You can rest assured that I won't use the original staff of my Ouyang family. Instead, I will hire a famous domestic manager. If you agree, then we'll have a tripartite cooperation. If you don't agree, then my Ouyang family will give up this cooperation." Long Hanwen glanced at Zhang Fengxian and said with a sinking tone, "I can agree to your request, but I must have the right to decide on the candidate. If I think that the professional manager you hire is unqualified, then you absolutely can't use him." "I also have the same idea," Zhang Fengxian quickly said. Ouyang Lei slowly said, "I have a friend, and I believe you've heard her name. Kongxia. I'll personally go to the capital tomorrow morning and invite her. What do you think?" Kongxia? A strange expression appeared on Long Hanwen and Zhang Fengxian's faces. There was also a bit of regret in their eyes. At the side, Zhang Deqin felt that the name Kongxia sounded familiar, but she couldn't remember where she had heard it. After pondering for a moment, she asked in a low voice, "Dad, is this Kongxia very famous?" Zhang Fengxian sighed. "She's more than famous. She's simply famous all over the world. You haven't grasped the family's power yet, so you don't know much about the world's top gold managers. But it's a pity." Zhang Deqin was confused. "But what's a pity?" Zhang Fengxian forced a smile and said, "It's a pity. Kongxia no longer works as a professional manager for other companies, but started her own business. Moreover, the place she chose was our Blue City. Have you heard of the magnificent Tang Corporation? It's a newly established company in Star City, and she's the general manager." Zhang Deqin suddenly understood. She finally understood why she felt familiar when she heard the name Kongxia. It turned out that she was the general manager of the newly established company. She recalled that she was often interviewed in financial magazines recently. Ouyang Lei listened to the conversation between Zhang Fengxian's parents and said with astonishment, "You mean Kongxia is in Star City? And she even established her own company?" Zhang Fengxian nodded. "That's right. It's called the Magnificent Tang Corporation." Ouyang Lei took out his mobile and dialed a cell number. After his call was connected, he quickly asked, "Kongxia, I'm Ouyang Lei. I heard that you've established your own company. Is it true? I say, old friend, isn't it too late for you to get the news? I've indeed established my own company, and I've just set up the company's framework. However, I'm afraid it will take a long time for it to officially step on the right track. How about it? You called me just to ask me about this?" Kongxia's laughter came from the phone. Ouyang Lei forced a smile and said, "I'm really slow on the uptake. Where are you now? The Imperial Capital? Or Star City?" "Star City. I'm also in Star City. Is it convenient for us to meet? You're also in Star City?" "Of course. We've known each other for many years, and I haven't seen you for nearly a year. Where are you now?" "I'm coming to you now." "Long's Dining Hall. You're also in the Long's Dining Hall? Isn't this world too small? Tell me your room number, and I'll be there immediately." "All right." Ouyang Lei hung up the phone and looked at the pairs of eyes looking at him. He forced a smile and said, "I never thought that she would establish her own company. I met her in the United States about 7 or 8 years ago, and I even helped her with a small favor. She once told me that she owed me a favor, and that she would definitely repay it in the future. I originally wanted to use that favor to make her our professional manager, but now it seems that I can't do it." Long Hanwen's expression moved as he said, "Actually, it's not impossible. It's just that it depends on whether Kongxia is willing or not. As far as I know, the magnificent Tang Corporation structure has been completed, and it seems to be doing cosmetics business. However, they haven't even built the factory yet, so I don't know when they'll be able to produce the products. We can let her manage our preliminary project. Besides, it's very convenient since it's in Star City. Zhang Fengxian forced a smile and said, I've heard about her character. Will she agree? Chapter 194. Pointing to Ouyang Long Hanwen suppressed his excitement and said, Didn't you hear it clearly? Kong Xia owes a favor. If the creditor asks for it, do you think she will refuse? Besides, the cosmetics business of the magnificent Tang Corporation is just a small business with only a small registered capital. If we pull the magnificent Tang Corporation in, I'm sure Kong Xia will become our CEO. Ouyang confidently said, Kong Xia's words are worth 1,000 gold. She'll definitely agree if I bring it up. However, I'm afraid we'll have to pay a hefty price. Long Hanwen slapped the table and loudly said, Who's Kong Xia? If she can become the CEO, how much money can we earn by relying on her? Price. I'd like to see how much she can ask for. Zhang Fengxian was also a bit excited at the moment. Countless domestic large corporations wanted to hire Kong Xia to work for them, but none of them succeeded. Now that they had Ouyang favor, if they could really hire Kong Xia, they could only wait to earn money and laugh until they couldn't close their mouths. If she dares to ask, then we'll dare to give. Zhang Fengxian spoke with a firm tone. A few minutes later, the doorbell of the presidential suite rang. Long Jingyu opened the door and saw Kong Xia outside. He quickly and politely invited her in. It's quite lively here. I didn't disturb you, did I? Kong Xia entered the hall. After looking around, she smilingly looked at Ouyang and asked. Ouyang smiled as he got up and gently hugged Kong Xia. After separating, he said, No. We were just talking about you. However, we're old friends. You set up a company and started your own business, yet you didn't tell me. Are you looking down on me? Kong Xia said with a smile. You're in Jingmen Island, not Star City. Don't tell me I want you to run here from Jingmen Island. Anyways, how come you're in Star City today? Are you here to play? Or do you have some serious business? Ouyang said with a smile. My father told me to open a new business for the Ouyang family. If my next investment project can make a lot of profit, he promised to give me the patriarch position of the Ouyang family. How about it? I'm doing well, right? Kong Xia snappily scolded. Look at your arrogant face. There are still outsiders here. Ouyang waved his hand carelessly and said, We'll be on the same side soon, so it's fine. Old friend, you owe me a favor in America. Isn't it time to repay the debt? Kong Xia stared blankly for a moment before her expression turned solemn. She nodded and said, A drop of kindness must be repaid with a spring. If it weren't for you, I would have died in that car accident. Say it. What do you want? Ouyang smiled and said, I want you. Kong Xia blushed and cursed with a smile. Go to hell. Don't talk nonsense. Ouyang pretended to be serious and said, I really want you. Uncle Long, Uncle Zhang, and I are going to work together to fund a construction project. I want you to be our manager. Kong Xia frowned. After pondering for a moment, she forced a smile and said, Old friend, if it was a few months ago, maybe I wouldn't have said anything and directly agreed. But now, Long Hanwen quickly said, Chief Kong, as far as I know, your magnificent Tang Corporation is going to do cosmetic business, right? Moreover, you haven't even built a factory yet, let alone launching a product on the market. I think you're not busy at the moment. Also, if you want the magnificent Tang Corporation to participate, we can cooperate in 4 aspects. The project we're going to invest in requires a lot of funds, and the profit is very high. I wonder if you're interested? Kong Xia shook her head and said, Not interested. Ugh. Long Hanwen raised his hand to touch his nose and let out a forced smile. However, while Kong Xia wasn't paying attention, he winked at Zhang Fengxian. Zhang Fengxian nodded without batting an eyelid and said with a smile, Chief Kong, capable people do more work. We're all businessmen, and what we pay attention to is profit. I guarantee you'll be interested if you know about our project. Also, We won't treat you badly if you become our professional manager. What project? Kang Xia asked with a curious expression. 10 minutes later, Kang Xia knew the blueprint of the entire project through her understanding. Her eyes turned particularly bright, and there was a bit of struggle in her eyes. Upon seeing this, Zhang Fengxian immediately said, Chief Kang, you already know the whole project. With your business vision, you should be able to see the huge profits contained in it. How about it? Are you willing to cooperate with us? Kang Xia's expression constantly changed. After a while, she shook her head and said with a bitter expression, To be honest, there are only a few projects that can interest me now. I admit that I'm tempted by this project. But I have no money. Even if I want to invest, I can only come up with a few $100 million at most. But this project of yours is too big. Chief Kang, how much can you invest at most? Long Hanwen quickly asked. Kang Xia pondered for a moment before she stretched out 2 fingers and said, 200 million at most. And this is under the condition that I cut some unnecessary investment from the magnificent Tang Corporation. Long Hanwen said with a resolute and decisive tone, If you can invest 200 million and become our CEO, I promise to give you 10% of the shares. How about it? 10%? Zhang Fengxian stared blankly for a moment before a surprised expression appeared on his face. He didn't expect that Long Hanwen would be so generous. It must be noted that if Ouyang Lei could invest 5 billion, he would also take out the same amount of money, and Long Hanwen's investment should not be less than this amount. The total investment of the 3 of them added up was more than 15 billion. 10% was a whopping 5 billion. Long Hanwen added, I'm talking about the profit. In a flash, Zhang Fengxian relaxed. He naturally had no objection if it was about the profit. Ouyang Lei eagerly looked at Kang Xia and said, Old friend, please accept it. I don't think anyone in our country is more suitable than you for this position. Kang Xia didn't hurry to reply. She quietly pondered for a few minutes before she looked up and asked, How much is your total investment? Long Hanwen said with a deep tone, I can come up with 8 billion. This is all the funds I can use, including the bank loan. I can come up with 5 billion. Ouyang Lei said. Kang Xia turned to look at Zhang Fengxian. Zhang Fengxian pondered for a moment and slowly said, I can also come up with 5 billion. If you need to add more later, I have no problem. Kang Xia slowly nodded. After thinking for a while, she seriously said, I want 15% of the shares. If you agree, then I'll join. But if you don't, then today's matter never happened. 15%? Long Hanwen and Zhang Fengxian exchanged glances, and then nodded silently. Ouyang Lei naturally didn't have any problem upon seeing this. Late at night, Southgate Town's villa complex. Tan Xiu was sitting by the window, quietly reading a book on finance. At this time, a car's headlight shone in the distance, making him look outside. Creak. A Lamborghini came to a stop in the courtyard as Kang Xia came out from the driver's seat. Up. Tan Xiu waved his hand. Kang Xia made an okay gesture, and came to Tan Xiu's room on the 2nd floor. She then said with a smile, Boss, you're really carefree. We've been racking our brains for that plan. Tan Xiu said with a smile, I naturally couldn't rush to the front in order not to alert the enemy. What's the result today? Kang Xia said with a smile, We've invited him to enter the trap, and now we're waiting for the formal agreement to be signed. Ouyang Lei's performance is very good. We've already agreed with them that the signing ceremony will be held the day after tomorrow at the Long's dining hall. What Long Hanwen said is correct. Tan Xiu said with a faint smile. The world is bustling for benefits, and the world is bustling for benefits. Zhang Fengxian's grasp of business opportunities is very accurate, but it's a pity that he never saw through it. It's actually a trap. Otherwise, once the project is completed, the Zhang family's strength will definitely go up another level. The Bible says that greed is the original sin. Kang Xia said with a smile. Tan Xiu shook his head and said, People's desires are endless. As long as they can see it, they will dare to pursue it. That's right. Where's the information I asked you to bring me? Kang Xia handed a folder to Tan Xiu and said, We've clearly investigated the Zhang's movements. Our people have been tracking them. However, someone has gone missing and we haven't found him yet. Who is it? Tan Xiao asked with a confused expression. Zhang Yongjin. Kang Xia said. Tan Xiao frowned and said in a deep voice, find him. No matter what method you use, you must find Zhang Yongjin's whereabouts. If we don't pull out the roots, I'm afraid we'll leave behind a disaster. Kang Xia said. We're already looking for him. However, I suspect that Zhang Yongjin is not in Star City at all. Tan Xiao thought for a moment and then slowly said, when you see Long Hanwen and Ouyang Lei tomorrow, ask their people to help find him. Also tell Miao Wentong and Xiao Mingjin. Tell them that no matter which rat hole Zhang Yongjin is hiding in, even if you have to dig 3 feet deep, you must dig him out. Understood. Kang Xia nodded. At Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. In the brightly lit hospital building, several family members of the patients were anxiously waiting at the operating room's entrance on the 4th floor. As the operating room's door was opened from the inside, 2 doctors wearing masks came out drenched in sweat. Doctor, how's my wife? Upon seeing them, a middle-aged man immediately rushed forward and asked. The other doctor forced a smile and said, we've tried our best, but we still can't take out the steel nail inside her body. The position of the nail is too close to the aorta and the heart. A little carelessness will cause her to die on the operating table. Although the patient is still alive for the time being, her life will be in danger at any time. The middle-aged man anxiously said. Then what should we do? Don't tell me we're going to delay it like this? The doctor forced a smile and said. We really can't do anything. The president has already informed us, so we naturally have to go all out. Chapter 195. Li Hongji didn't leave the hospital tonight, because his old comrade's daughter-in-law was injured and hospitalized in the operating room. In order to comfort his old comrade, he stayed in the hospital to accompany him. At this moment, he personally brought his old comrade to the operating room's door. After seeing that the operation was over, he quickly asked, how was the operation? Has the steel nail been taken out from the patient's body? The doctor shook his head and said, the position of the nail is too special. We've tried a variety of methods, but we couldn't take it out. She's now receiving a blood transfusion, but her condition is not very stable. Li Hongji's brows tightly furrowed. He looked at his old comrade's pale face and felt uncomfortable inside. He wanted to open his mouth to comfort him, but he didn't know what to say. The doctor said, President, how about we transfer her to another hospital? Now send her to the imperial capital. Halfway through his words, he couldn't continue. It was because he knew very well that the patient's body was not suitable to be moved. If the steel nail in her body was touched during the process of moving, it would be very dangerous and she could die at any time. Li Hongji said with a deep voice, don't move her body easily. It's best to invite the top doctors from other hospitals in the country. Tan Xiao's face suddenly appeared in his mind. His eyes immediately lit up. He quickly grabbed his phone and searched for Tan Xiao's number. Southgate Town. Tan Xiao was talking with Kang Xia when his phone rang, interrupting their conversation. When Tan Xiao took out his mobile and saw that the call was from Li Hongji, he immediately frowned. What's up? Tan Xiao, our hospital has a seriously injured patient. Even the best doctors in the hospital can't treat her. Can you come here now and save the patient? Can you save the injured? Li Hongji's tone was somewhat begging. What's the situation? Tan Xiao asked. A steel nail has been inserted between the heart and the blood vessels. Li Hongji said. Tan Xiao secretly sighed and said, wait for me. Having said that, he hung up the phone. Boss, why are you going out so late? Kang Xia asked with a confused expression. Tan Xiao forced a smile and said, inexplicably, I became a doctor of Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. The hospital now has a seriously injured patient who needs treatment, and the best doctors in the hospital are unable to treat him. The dean called and asked me to come over. You happen to have a car, send me there. Kang Xia knew that Tan Xiao had medical skills, because she heard that Gu Yin's strange illness was cured by Tan Xiao. But she didn't expect that even the best doctor in Star City Chinese Medical Hospital couldn't cure the injury, and that the president would personally call Tan Xiao. Could it be that his medical skills were better than the best doctors in Star City Chinese Medical Hospital? I'll send you there. Kongxia nodded and replied. Very soon. The duo then arrived at Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. Boss, I'll go with you. In the past, I only knew that you had medical skills, but I had never seen it with my own eyes. I want to see it, Kongxia said with a smile. Tan Xiao asked. Aren't you tired? No matter how tired I am, I won't feel tired when I'm with boss, said Kongxia with a smile. Bootlicker. Tan Xiao said with a smile as he strode toward the main building of the hospital. Kongxia locked the door and followed Tan Xiao into the main building's hall. At the entrance of the operating room on the 4th floor, Li Hongji kept looking at the time, while his old comrade next to him asked with a worried expression. Old Li, how is the level of the doctor you invited? Li Hongji said, he's a Chinese medical grandmaster, and his level is above me. I don't know about the operation, but he should be able to remove the nail from the patient's body. Chinese medical doctor? The worried expression on the old man's face turned thicker. When Tan Xiao's figure appeared in Li Hongji's line of sight, despite his old age, Li Hongji still ran fast as he excitedly said, Tan Xiao, the patient is in the operating room. Our hospital's doctors have performed an operation on her, but there's no way to remove the nail. Do you have a way? Tan Xiao said, I haven't seen her injury, so I don't know for the time being. Take me there to have a look. Li Hongji nodded and said, Come with me. As Tan Xiao and Li Hongji entered the operating room, Kongxia and the patient's family members were stopped outside. Inside the operating room, Li Hongji ordered the doctors who stayed inside to remove the thin quilt covering the patient's body. Tan Xiao examined the patient and frowned deeply. How did the nail penetrate her body? A doctor who knew about the situation said, She was passing by a construction site and was hit by an air gun. It's been 7 or 8 hours since then. Tan Xiao nodded and said, Help her up and let her sit. Several doctors looked hesitant and looked at Li Hongji one after another. Li Hongji said in a deep voice, Do as Dr. Tang said. The doctors nodded helplessly and carefully helped the woman to sit up. Tan Xiao picked up a sharp scalpel from the operating table. As the woman's clothes were lifted, he identified the suture position of the wound left by the operation. In the next moment, the scalpel in his hand cut through the suture of the wound and instantly cut off all the sutures. Blood. It gushed out like a spring. Tan Xiao's expression was extraordinarily calm. He quickly picked up the flesh and saw the end of the nail. He grabbed the woman's shoulder and pulled her down from the operating table. Then he punched her back. At the same time, a stream of Star Force was injected into the woman's body from his fist. Star Force was similar to True Essence, but its quality was higher than True Essence. True Essence could heal injuries, so could Star Force. Tan Xiao injected his Star Force into the woman's body, ignoring the fact that her wound was bleeding faster. Under the dumbfounded expressions of the doctors around him, he reached out and pressed her back, controlling the Star Force that was injected into the woman's body to quickly protect her heart. 10 seconds later, Tan Xiao put the woman back on the operating table, and then injected his Star Force into his fingers. He slowly injected it into the wound while inserting his hand into the wound. No one saw that Tan Xiao used his Star Force to push the blood vessels next to the wound to the side. Then his fingers clamped the end of the nail and pulled it out. Ding! A few centimeters long nail was thrown into the vat. Tan Xiao looked at the dumbfounded doctors and said in a deep voice, My task is done. I didn't touch her blood vessels or her heart. I'll leave the rest to you. Stop the bleeding and suture her. That's right, don't forget to disinfect it. Li Hongji was also frightened by Tan Xiao's means. His heart was in his throat. Upon hearing Tan Xiao's words, he seemed to have woken up from a dream. He looked at the doctors who were still shocked and shouted in a deep voice, What are you still standing there for? Follow Divine Dr. Tang's instructions immediately. All right. The doctors finally came back to their senses and immediately began to disinfect and suture the woman's wound. At the same time, they inserted an oxygen tube into the woman's body and connected various instruments to her body. The data measured by the instruments showed that everything was normal. When the doctors and Li Hongji saw the data, they finally felt relieved. At this moment, they were shocked and looked at Tan Xiao, who was calmly washing his hands. They were speechless for a long time. That means just now. Unimaginable. If it were them, they wouldn't dare to do that even if they were given 100 times more courage. Li Hongji followed Tan Xiao out of the operating room. He looked at the worried family members outside, as well as the pale old comrade in arms. He shot a deep look at Tan Xiao, turned his head and said, "Don't worry. Dr. Tang has taken out the nail from the patient's body. The data shown by the instruments shows that although the patient has yet to recover from the danger, she should be fine. I'll order the doctor to take care of her for 24 hours. The old man stared with wide eyes and incredulously asked, "Did he really take it out? Old Li, don't lie to me. How long has this young doctor been in there? It's less than 5 minutes, no? How did he take out the nail from my daughter-in-law's body so quickly?" "Dr. Tang is actually a divine doctor of our hospital," sighed Li Hongji. "We usually don't look for him unless it's a last resort. He's very busy and it's difficult for him to spare too much time. If your daughter-in-law can be saved this time, the person you should thank the most is him." "Divine doctor?" The old man's lips squirmed a few times as he looked at his son and shouted, "Why haven't you knelt to the young divine doctor and thanked him for saving your wife?" Upon hearing this, the middle-aged man immediately knelt and kowtowed to Tan Xiao. Tan Xiao reached out to stop him. He glanced at Li Hongji and said, "I'm a doctor. Saving lives and helping the wounded is my duty. You don't need to thank me. This is what I should do." At the side, Kong Xia looked at Tan Xiao with a dumbfounded expression. She suddenly realized that she really knew little about Tan Xiao. The reputation of this Star City Chinese medical hospital was even more resounding than the first public hospital. Even the best doctor here was unable to cure the injury of the patient. Yet, Tan Xiao came here for just a few minutes and had already cured the patient. It was truly amazing. She looked at Tan Xiao and suddenly felt that a halo was shrouding Tan Xiao's head. It was the halo of a god. Tan Xiao took out his mobile, looked at the time and said, "If there's nothing else, then I'll take my leave first." Li Hongji quickly stopped Tan Xiao and asked with a face full of expectation, "Tan Xiao, you've taken the college entrance test. Can you come to the hospital to give medical services? The consultation room that was vacated for you in advance has always been empty." Tan Xiao pondered for a moment before he shook his head and said, "I don't have time recently. Just wait for a month at the latest. I'll definitely come to the hospital to give medical services in half a month at the latest." Upon hearing Tan Xiao's guarantee, Li Hongji immediately smiled and said with a smile, "I'm relieved to hear that. Let's go. I'll walk you out." Tan Xiao shook his head and said, "No need. You're old, so you should go back and rest early." After saying that, he left with Kong Xia. When they were outside the main building, Kong Xia looked at Tan Xiao with an extraordinary expression and asked, "Boss, how did you do it? You must know that you've been in the operating room for just a few minutes." Chapter 196. Faced with Kong Xia's inquiry, Tan Xiao was somewhat speechless. How did he do it? Wasn't pulling out a steel nail a piece of cake? Back when he was in the immortal world, he had suffered countless serious injuries, and he had saved himself countless of times. The difficulty was much more difficult than saving people. "Let's go." With a calm expression, Tan Xiao continued to walk outside. Kong Xia had the impulse to break the casserole and get to the bottom of it. But looking at Tan Xiao's tranquil expression, she finally suppressed the strong curiosity at the bottom of her heart. In her eyes, Tan Xiao was really unfathomable. Before she met Tan Xiao, she had never imagined that she would meet a person in her life, a person younger than her, who could make her worship him and make her feel that she needed to look up to him. Back in the car, Kong Xia started the car and said, "Boss, I'll send you back to Southgate Town first, and then I'll go back." Tan Xiao nodded and said, "Go back and rest your spirit. Don't meet unless there's an important matter. I'm guessing that the Zhangs will send someone to keep an eye on you and observe your every move. If we meet and arouse Zhang Deqin's suspicion, then the gains won't make up for the losses." "I understand." Kong Xia nodded and said. Time flew by, and the years passed by quickly. The plan against the Zhangs proceeded smoothly and quickly as expected. A large amount of funds was transferred to the public account, and Kang Xia also took up her post as the temporary CEO of the management team. Moreover, according to the agreement, the treaty signed by all parties was extremely strict and demanding. Zhang Fengxian was cautious and cunning by nature, but in the face of huge profits, he also decided to fight. However, for the sake of insurance, he secretly contacted the top brass of the Hu and Shui families in Star City and signed a cooperation plan in private. He was willing to transfer part of the profits to the two families, but secretly raised 2 billion yuan from the two families. A week later, Southgate Town's villa complex. Dressed in a loose bathrobe, Tan Xiu quietly read the information in his hand. The information was from the 20 men he had sent to investigate the whereabouts of the Zhang's top brass members. It was very detailed and comprehensive. As long as Tan Xiu gave the order, they could make the Zhang's top brass disappear within 10 minutes. Opposite him, Ouyang Lulu was wearing denim shorts, a small sleeveless top, and cool crystal shoes. She was sitting on the sofa lazily, holding her chin and looking at Tan Xiu without blinking. It might be boring to stare at someone all the time. However, if he kept staring at someone he was interested in, he wouldn't feel bored. Instead, he would feel overflowing with interest. The more time Ouyang Lulu spent with Tan Xiu, the more she felt that Tan Xiu was amazing. Previously, she thought that the people Tan Xiu knew were people from the Long family, Chen Zhizhong, and at most, the mysterious everlasting feast hall's little boss Gu Xiaoxue. However, when she told the news about Miao Wentong and Xiao Mingjin to her parents, the result shocked her. It was because Miao Wentong and Xiao Mingjin's identity was extraordinary. Mysterious. Ouyang Lulu felt an incomparably mysterious aura from Tan Xiu. Even compared to the countless unsolved mysteries in the world, she felt that it was better. Are there flowers on my face? Tan Xiu finally put down the documents in his hand, and his eyes fell on Ouyang Lulu's face. Ouyang Lulu let out a shallow smile and said, "There are no flowers on your face, but there are flowers on your head. I want to open the petals and see what's inside." "Aren't you bored?" Tan Xiu shook his head snappily. Ouyang Lulu let out a charming smile and said, "Studying you is the most boring thing. However, I'm really curious. The plan against the Zhang family is going on. Aren't you worried?" "Worried about what?" Tan Xiu asked. "I'm worried that there will be unforeseen events midway. The Zhang family has a deep foundation in Star City. Maybe they have some hidden cards. In case they reveal their cards at that time, our plan will be thwarted. What should we do then?" Tan Xiu coldly said, "In the face of absolute force, all unforeseen events will be easily solved. I don't want the final solution to be to kill all the Zhangs. But if there are unexpected changes, then we can only use this method." "Tan Xiu, the current society is ruled by law. Aren't you afraid of killing too many people and causing unnecessary troubles?" Ouyang Lulu asked. Tan Xiu indifferently said, "The law is made for the weak, and the truly strong can ignore the law. Although I don't want to challenge the bottom line of the law, others can't challenge my bottom line either. If someone wants to kill my people, then they must die first. I must even cut the weeds and eliminate the roots, leaving no root of disaster behind." Ouyang Lulu applauded and said, "That's right, that's the truth. In Jingmen Island, there was a family that attempted to be our Ouyang family's enemy. They even hired a group of international mercenaries to sneak into Jingmen Island and snipe our people. As a result, those international mercenaries all stayed in Jingmen Island, and that family was removed from Jingmen Island. However, the Ouyang family suffered a great loss that time, and it took us several years to recover." Tan Xiu lightly smiled and said, "It seems that your Ouyang family's heritage is very deep. At the very least, the enemy didn't figure out your family's trump card before rashly attacking your family." "How do you know that our Ouyang family has a trump card?" Ouyang Lulu was surprised. Tan Xiu said, "There are not many fools in this world, and those who can be in charge of a big family are not fools either. Before they acted, I'm afraid that they have clearly investigated the strength of your Ouyang family on the surface. This is called knowing yourself and knowing your enemy, and you will always be victorious in 100 battles." "You're right." Ouyang Lulu said with a smile. Our Ouyang family does have a trump card, which is my maternal grandfather's family. It can be said that our family has a mysterious relative family. Tanxiu, I absolutely trust you. That's why I'm telling you this. Although my maternal grandfather's family is very low-key and lives in a remote mountainous area, the people there are tough and valiant. They advocate martial arts, and many of them are very strong experts. Even our Ouyang family has hired a group of experts from them. I know. Tanxiu said. Some of the people your big brother brought this time are quite good. Knock knock. The door was knocked. A smile hung on Gu Yin's delicate face as she entered the room and called out, Master, we have a guest in our house. A guest? What guest? Tanxiu asked with a smile. He came to our house before. He's the one who delivered the medicinal herbs to you last time. His surname seems to be Chu. Chui? Tanxiu's expression moved as he got up and said, Let's go. Let's go see him. In the living room on the first floor, Chui was sitting on the sofa, playing with his mobile phone with a big black suitcase beside him. A bright smile hung on his handsome face, and it was obvious that he was in a good mood. Chui. Tanxiu came to the living room and sat on the opposite sofa. Ouyang Lulu was like a well-behaved young wife as she directly sat next to Tanxiu. Chui put away his mobile and saw Ouyang Lulu following behind Tanxiu. His expression was slightly startled as he looked at the place where Ouyang Lulu was sitting. An incredulous expression immediately appeared on his face. He raised his arm and pointed at the two of them as he hesitantly said, You two? What? Tanxiu asked with a confused expression. Ouyang Lulu rolled her eyes and snorted. What's wrong with the two of us? If you have something to say, just say it. Don't hide it. There's nothing shameful between me and Tanxiu. Chui forced a smile and said, Old classmate, your words are full of sarcasm. I don't dare to speak anymore. But I'm very curious. Why are you here? If you can come here, why can't I? Ouyang Lulu said. Tanxiu said with a smile. Lulu has something to do in Star City, so she's staying here recently. Chui, did you come here to deliver the medicinal herbs to me? Chui looked at them with a strange expression. He then said with a smile, I came to Star City for two things. The first thing is to deliver the medicinal herbs to you. The second thing is that I received a call from Long Zhengyu. Someone wants to intervene in our project, so I came to ask about the specific situation. Tanxiu said, You don't need to ask Long Zhengyu about this matter. We have a bigger plan. You'll naturally know about it after the project is completed. Chui frowned and said with a confused expression, Brother Tang, I don't understand what you mean. Since I can't ask Long Zhengyu, how about you tell me about it? Tanxiu said, We're using that piece of land as well as the architectural design that I personally drew. The plan is already in progress. If it's not out of my expectation, we should have the result in 10 days to half a month at the latest. I know that you and Bai Tao have shares in that building, but the entire piece of land was bought by Long Zhengyu. We're using that piece of land as our plan. If you want to participate in the future project, it's not a problem. But the premise is that we have to get rid of some people first. Chui was shocked. You have enmity with others? Why didn't you call me? Tanxiu said with a smile. We originally wanted to find you and Bai Tao. But considering that you also have enemies in the imperial capital, we didn't say anything. Our plan this time is very tight, and you're the first person who knows about it without participating. So I hope you can keep it a secret. Chui squinted his eyes and slowly asked, Is there anything I can help you with? For example, money? Tanxiu said with a smile. I don't need it for the time being. But if I need it later, I'll tell you. Chui nodded and said, I'll tell Bai Tao about this matter. Of course, it's only limited to the two of us, and we won't say anything to our family. If you need money later, you can tell us. Although most of our money has been invested in the building that is about to be developed, but if we think of a way to get some money without alerting a lot of people, it's still possible. Tanxiu stared blankly and suddenly asked, If, how much money can your Chu and Bai families take out without arousing the attention of your enemies? Chui pondered for a moment and then said, 4 billion. This is the limit. I think the Bai family should also have the same amount. The 4th chapter has been released. Weekly asking for a monthly vote _. Chapter 197. Pa! Tanshio clapped his hands and said with a smile, "Then let's beat them at their own game, and play something bigger. You go back to the imperial capital now, and look for your family's elders. If they want to play something bigger, tell them to send someone to Star City and Southgate Town." Chu-Yi stared blankly at Tanshio, whose face was full of fighting spirit as he probed. "Brother Tang, can you tell me your plan first? This is not a trivial matter after all. If there's no sufficient reason, I'm afraid it will be very difficult for me and Bai Tao to convince our family's elders." Tanshio pondered for a moment. Then, he explained the grudges between him and the Zhangs, as well as his plan to unite various forces to eliminate the Zhangs in full detail. Finally, he said with a sinking tone, "If the two of you can secretly take out 8 billion, it will be easier to snipe the Zhangs later. Once the Zhangs are removed, you can start the comprehensive construction according to my architectural design. Once it succeeds, I believe you know the profits." Chu-Yi's eyes turned wide as he asked in shock, "Do you really want to play that big?" Tanshio sneered. "Since we're going to play, then we'll play big. Also, if the Star Cities Hu and Shui families are involved in this matter, we'll make them taste the taste of huge losses. I'm thinking that I'll try to complete the project of the architectural design within 3 years. 3 years? Chu-Yi's heartbeat sped up. One must know. If the architectural design drawn by Tanshio were to be carried out according to the previous agreement, perhaps even 8 to 10 years might not be enough to complete the construction. Chu-Yi's eyes flickered and his tone was especially serious. He immediately got up and said, "I'll return to the imperial capital now, and I'll give you my answer before tomorrow evening. Also, leave Bai Tao to me. You can rest assured that I won't leak any information about this matter." Tanshio's eyes swept over the big black suitcase. When he sent Chu-Yi to the hall's entrance, he asked, "How much are the medicinal herbs this time?" Chu-Yi said, 80 million. "The money is not urgent, let's talk about it later." "All right." Tanshio nodded. Ouyang Lulu's eyes sparkled with extraordinary splendor. She followed Tanshio to send Chu-Yi away and asked, "Have you really decided? After getting rid of the Zhang family, we'll start the big project?" Tanshio asked, "If the project is completed, how much profit can we make?" Ouyang Lulu forced a smile and said, "According to your design, even if the profit is not 100 billion, I'm afraid it will be at least tens of billions. The commercial district and the residential district. Just these 2 areas alone were very profitable. I can guarantee that once that blueprint is publicized, I'm afraid that when the house starts to be sold, the price will increase many times over. I estimate that it won't be inferior even if it's compared to the most prosperous area of Star City." Suddenly, Ouyang Lulu's eyes lit up and she immediately replied in high spirits, "Tanshio, I'm very clear about the scope of the land delineated by Long Zhengyu. If we really go all out, do you think we should sneakily take over the land around him when the price is extremely low? Even if we don't do anything and wait for the land to appreciate in the future, we can still make a big profit." Tanshio spread out his hands and said like a hoodlum, "I don't have any money." Ouyang Lulu's eyes flickered as she said, "It doesn't matter if you don't have money now. My Ouyang family can lend you a part first. After dealing with the Zhang family, I'm afraid all our forces will get a lot of benefits. You can return it to us when the time comes." Tanshio said, "Even if we get some benefits from the Zhang family, the money needs to be invested in the development of the big project. I'm afraid we can't take it out." Ouyang Lulu stared blankly and immediately fell into silence. Tanshio pondered for a moment. He felt that the idea proposed by Ouyang Lulu was good, especially the idea of borrowing the chicken to lay the eggs, which was to his liking. However, if he really did so, he was afraid that he would owe the Ouyang family even more. Tanshio slightly pondered for a moment and then slowly said, "Let's do it this way. First, your Ouyang family will quietly contact the Star City municipal government. After delimiting the land, see how much money is needed to buy it. When the time comes, I'll provide 40% of the funds, while your Ouyang family will provide 60%. As for the future earnings, we'll split it 40 to 60. Ouyang Lulu was confused. Don't you have no money? Tan Xiu said. I'll think about the money. I'll only provide the money, not the effort. Ouyang Lulu had an inexplicable trust in Tan Xiu. Upon hearing Tan Xiu's words, a satisfied smile appeared on her face as she nodded and said, Then it's decided. I'll return to Jingmen Island now and talk to my dad about this matter. I believe that with his vision, he will definitely agree. After saying that, she immediately returned to her room and packed her things. After that, she drove the car and left Southgate Town in a hurry. Tan Xiu liked her swift and decisive character, and was deeply satisfied with her intelligence. It would be very easy to cooperate with such a person. As for the money, he had already made up his mind. At the Zhang Group's HQ in Star City, inside the Deputy General Manager's office, Zhang Deqin's brows were tightly furrowed with a bit of restlessness surging in her eyes. The mobile phone in her hand kept ringing, but the reply she got was, The number you have dialed is temporarily unavailable. Knock knock, the office's door was knocked. Outside the open door, Hu Wanjun and Shui Renfei were standing with smiles on their faces. Upon seeing them, Zhang Deqin immediately strode forward and asked in a deep voice, You came just in time. I was just about to contact you. Where's Yongjin? Isn't he with you? Hu Wanjun was surprised. Big sis Deqin, we're also looking for Yongjin. It's been more than a week, but we haven't seen him or received his call. We can't contact him even if we call him. You mean you can't find him either? Zhang Deqin's face was as gloomy as water, and the restlessness in her heart was even more intense. She had sent her younger brother, Zhang Yongjin, to northern Jiangsu to find her good sister. As a result, he behaved well a few days ago. He followed her good sister and lived well. But since the day before yesterday, not only did she lose contact with her younger brother, Zhang Yongjin, she couldn't even contact her good sister. She had sent people to northern Jiangsu, but there was still no news. There was no one at her good sister's house. Big sis Deqin, Yongjin contacted me before, saying that he's going to stay in northern Jiangsu for some time, said Shui Renfei. At that time, he had confidently told me that he would be back in a week at most. Is he still in northern Jiangsu now? He did go to northern Jiangsu, but I've also lost contact with him. Zhang Deqin shook her head. I even asked him to find my good sister, and I've also lost contact with her. I suspect that someone has investigated his whereabouts and kidnapped him and my good sister. Hu Wanjun and Shui Renfei looked at each other in dismay. Who did it? Hu Wanjun quickly asked. I suspect that Tan Xiu sent someone to do it, said Zhang Deqin in a cold voice. Because we only have enmity with him now. Tan Xiu? Hu Wanjun was surprised. That guy with a bit of kung fu, and relying on the Long family to be arrogant? Does he have the guts? Zhang Deqin was silent. She had sent people to monitor the vicinity of Southgate Town, and found that Tan Xiu hadn't left Southgate Town for more than a week. She had confirmed that the 3 people killed outside the Southgate Town's gate were indeed assassins from abroad. She even suspected that the one who killed the 3 assassins was Tan Xiu. She had contacted the middleman, but she couldn't get in touch with him. She suspected that the other party had an accident. She didn't know what exactly happened, but at the very least, it wasn't a good thing for her. Star City Public Security Bureau. The Criminal Police Unit's office was busy, with police officers coming in and out with documents. In one of the spacious offices, Deng Jiamin was smoking a cigarette with an incomparably gloomy expression. Opposite him, Cheng Xuemei was holding a teacup with a pondering look in her eyes. The higher-ups are urging us even more. They originally wanted us to arrest the murderer within 3 days, but how many days has it been? We haven't been able to find any clues. How are we going to report to them? Captain Chung, I think we need to change our way of thinking. We can't always focus on the suspects under our surveillance. More importantly, we should focus on those foreign assassins. Deng Jiamin pinched the cigarette, but spoke in a deep tone. Cheng Xuemei forced a smile and said, We've got the answer from Interpol about the identity of those foreign assassins. They belong to a very small assassin organization. with only a dozen or so people in the entire organization. This time, 3 of them died all of a sudden, and the person behind the scenes who has been hiding in the dark and manipulating this assassin organization suddenly disappeared. Even if we want to investigate them, we won't be able to get any useful information. Deng Jianmin shook his head and said, I think there are some clues. Cheng Xuemei's spirit shook and she quickly asked, What clues, Chief Deng? How did they sneak into the country? How did they smoothly come to Star City? Deng Jianmin asked. Cheng Xuemei's eyes lit up. She immediately got up and said, You mean, the person behind the scenes who hired the assassins should be someone from Star City? He's the one who helped the 3 assassins to come to the country and help them come to Star City? That's right, said Deng Jianmin. The purpose of an assassin is to get paid to eliminate disasters. Since there is a target, then there must be an employer. We can't find the murderer who killed the assassins, and we can't find any valuable clues from him. So it's better to change our way of thinking and focus on the employer. You immediately send some people to the airport, the bus terminal, and any channel connecting Star City and the outside world. As long as we figure out how these assassins came to Star City, it's very likely that we can find clues about the employer. Cheng Xuemei put down the teacup in her hand and said in a deep tone, I'll personally lead some people to handle it. Deng Jianmin said, Wait, you also need to contact Interpol and ask them to find out the city where those assassins came from. Only in this way can we speed up the investigation. Sorry, I'm a bit stuck today, so the update was a bit late. Chapter 198. At noon the next day, Tan Xiu quietly left Southgate Town and went to a coffee shop in the nearby commercial street to meet the 2 high-ranking members of the Chu and Bai families. After having a secret discussion for half an hour, the 2 returned to the imperial capital. Agreed. This was the answer of the 2 families. Regarding this result, the happiest one was not Tan Xiu, but Chu Yi and Bai Tao, who had rushed to Star City. From the 2 of them, Tan Xiu learned that their families had decided to train them as the future masters of their families. Even more so, the 2 of them brought 8 billion yuan to Star City. Late at night, a Mercedes-Benz entered Southgate Town. In the villa, Tan Xiu saw the travel-worn Xiaomingxin. I heard that you returned to northern Jiangsu the day before yesterday. How come you came back today? Xiaomingxin's eyes were filled with happiness as he said, Brother Tang, have you ever heard of the saying that you can wear out iron shoes in fruitless searching, but by chance you find it without any effort? I came back this time to tell you some good news. What good news? Tan Xiu asked with a confused expression. Xiaomingxin took a video from his mobile and said, This is the video I recorded. You'll know after you watch it. Tan Xiu took his mobile. What he didn't expect was that the video showed a man and a woman tied up. The man turned out to be Zhang Yongjin. He had informed other forces to help find Zhang Yongjin's whereabouts, but there was no result. He didn't expect that Xiaomingxin would actually find Zhang Yongjin. How did you find him? Also, who's the woman beside him? Xiaomingxin happily took back the mobile and proudly said, 4 days ago, one of my underlings set up a gambling house and won a lot of money. The woman is called Sun Hong, a famous gambling addict in northern Jiangsu's Preng City. In that gambling house, she lost more than 2 million yuan, while Zhang Yongjin, who was with her, lost more than 10 million yuan. Later on, the 2 of them borrowed 6 million yuan from the high-interest loan shark at the casino. At the next gambling table, Sun Hong's cheating was discovered. That's why my underling tied them up. Originally, according to the casino's rules, we should call their families and ask them to collect the ransom. In the end, one of my subordinates saw that Sun Hong was beautiful and asked her to accompany him for half a month. Sun Hong agreed. But Zhang Yongjin wasn't so lucky. He was tied up and thrown into a room in the casino, where he starved for 2 days. I returned to northern Jiangsu the day before yesterday, because an old friend from the Great Northwest came to northern Jiangsu to catch up with me. My old friend, as it happens, likes to gamble. I accompanied him to a casino, and by a freak combination of factors, I found out about it. When I heard Zhang Yongjin's name, I only felt that it sounded familiar, but I didn't take it seriously at that time. Later on, I heard that Zhang Yongjin's family is in Star City, and that he's a very rich and big family. Only then did I immediately react. After Xiao Mingjin finished speaking with a chuckle, he took out a pack of cigarettes and lit it up. Then he said with a smile, "We've been looking for him in Star City and the nearby cities for a long time, but we couldn't find any trace of him. Coincidentally, such a thing happened. Brother Tang, now that I've found the person, it's up to you to decide how to deal with him." "Kill," Tan Xiao said without the slightest hesitation. Xiao Mingjin nodded and asked, "What about that woman called Sun Hong? Have you investigated her clearly?" Tan Xiao asked. "What's the relationship between Sun Hong and Zhang Yongjin?" Xiao Mingjin said, "I've investigated clearly. Sun Hong is a widow. She used to be Zhang Deqin's classmate and good friend. Now she's a good sister. The reason why Zhang Yongjin went to northern Jiangsu to seek shelter with Sun Hong was to seek refuge." "Seek refuge?" Tan Xiao asked with a puzzled expression. Xiao Mingjin said with a smile, "She was scared by you. You killed those 3 assassins, which made Zhang Deqin afraid. She was afraid that you would retaliate, so she sent her brother to her good sister in northern Jiangsu. Sun Hong is not a chaste woman. During the days when Zhang Yongjin sought refuge with her, the 2 of them got together." "Then kill them too," Tang Xiao said. "I don't want this matter to be spread out." Xiao Mingjin nodded. He took out his cell phone and dialed a number. After giving a few instructions, he hung up the phone and said, "I've contacted Brother Miao on the way to Star City. He told me that the plan here is almost finished." Tan Xiao said with a smile, "The Zhang family has already drilled into the trap. It's too late for them to get out. Long Hanwen and Miao Wintong have indeed begun to finish the plan. However, I don't know much about the business side. I'm only responsible for sending people to capture the Zhang family's high-ranking members." Xiao Mingjin squinted his eyes. His eyes flickered as he said with a sinking tone, "I've sent people to keep an eye on those people. They can act at any time." Tan Xiao said with a smile, "The Zhang family has a lot of businesses, especially those entertainment venues. The Ouyang family and you both have this business, so it's up to you 2 to decide who will take it." Xiao Mingjin said with a smile, "I don't want to get involved in Star City. Just give it to the Ouyang family." 2 days later, Kong Xia, who was in charge of the project, issued an order to launch a full-scale attack on the Zhang family's business. Especially in the real estate business, some people who had been arranged in advance began to cause trouble due to the quality of the houses. At the same time, a large number of outsiders appeared in all the entertainment venues of the Zhang family. In addition, many of the Zhang family's employees also suddenly left their jobs. In addition, the bad deeds done by several high-ranking members of the Zhang family were also reported. Even the Public Security Bureau was involved in the investigation. There was also an overwhelming amount of news smearing the Zhang family on the internet, fermenting and erupting in major forums. It spread to the whole country at an extremely fast speed. At the Zhang Group's HQ, inside the general manager's office, Zhang Fengxian was badly battered by a series of attacks. Blue veins protruded on his forehead as he fiercely smashed several quilts. He was like a hungry wolf as he looked at the several senior leaders of the group in front of him and roared, "Who can tell me what's going on? Who's targeting my Zhang family? Who's targeting my Zhang group?" Several senior members of the group bowed their heads and didn't speak. They didn't know. This was the common thought in their minds. The development of the situation was too fast, as if it had been premeditated. Aside from the real estate business, the Zhang Group also had several other branches operating other businesses. As a result, they were all blocked on the same day. All the major business partners contacted them and told them that they would sever their cooperation in the future. The news that flew over like snowflakes caught them off guard. Bang bang. The moment the office door was knocked, Zhang Deqin had already dashed inside. Looking at her furious father, Zhang Fengxian, her complexion was ashen as she hurriedly said, "Dad, the bank just called. They want us to repay the loan that's about to mature as soon as possible. The bank's president Lu has already promised that we don't need to hurry to repay the money." But now, Zhang Fengxian's breathing stagnated as disbelief was revealed in his eyes. He and President Lu had a very good personal relationship. The amount of loans that others received from him was far from being comparable to that of his Zhang group. How could he also? Zhang Fengxian grabbed his mobile and dialed President Lu's number. After a long while, the call was connected and a deep and low voice came out of the phone. "Hello, this is Lu Zhangjian." Upon hearing the other party's words, the bad premonition inside Zhang Fengxian's heart turned more intense. Taking a deep breath, he tried his best to calm down his emotions and forced a smile. "Brother Lu, what's going on? I just heard from Daqin that she urgently needs our Zhang family to repay the loan. Didn't we brothers have an agreement before? We'll wait for another 6 months and return the loan with interest after that." "Brother Zhang, I won't hide it from you. This is an order from the top, and I have no other choice. So, your Zhang family should return the money as soon as possible. Otherwise, it's really hard for me to explain it to you." A wry smile came out of the phone. "Brother Lu, I believe you've heard that I've just invested in a big project recently, and I've poured a huge amount of money into it. Can you help me think of a way? As long as the project is on the right track, I'll immediately return the loan from the bank. Also, I'll double what I promised you before." "Brother Zhang, it's not that I don't want to, but I'm powerless. Alright, I still have something to do, so let's talk here. I hope you can return the money before the end of the month." Listening to the end of the call, a bit of fear was revealed in Zhang Fengxian's eyes. He could hear it. There was definitely a problem with the bank. Even if he gave more benefits to President Lu, he was afraid that the loan would not be able to be delayed. However, he was not afraid because he still had nearly 5 billion in his hands, even if 4 billion belonged to the Hu family and the Shui family. What he wanted the most now was to figure out which force was going against his Zhang family. The Long family? Zhang Fengxian frowned. Just as he was about to dial Long Hanwen's number, his mobile suddenly rang. "Kong Xia?" Zhang Fengxian's heart moved. He immediately pressed the answer button and spoke in a deep tone. "Zhang Fengxian speaking. Is something the matter, Chief Kong?" Kong Xiao's cold and detached voice came out of the phone. "Boss Zhang, the person in charge of the finance department of our big project is your second brother, Zhang Fengming, right?" A bad premonition arose inside Zhang Fengxian's heart as he quickly asked. "Yes, it's my second brother, Zhang Fengming. Why did Chief Kong suddenly ask about this matter?" Kong Xia coldly said. "Yesterday, Zhang Fengming and several important personnel of the finance department transferred all the funds in our public account to the Swiss bank account. There were a total of 5 of them, and now they have disappeared without a trace. I suspect that they absconded with the funds, so I've called the police. I want to know whether the 10 to 20 billion in funds was monopolized by your Zhang family?" "What?" Zhang Fengxian's body shook. His eyes nearly popped out. Fear. It was as though a tide had invaded his heart. Zhang Fengming? How dare he do this? Zhang Fengxian's body tilted as he slumped on the boss's chair. Suddenly, he quickly grabbed his mobile and dialed Zhang Fengming's private number, but the answer he got was that the other party had turned off his phone. Chapter 199. Zhang Daqin looked at Zhang Fengxian's terrified expression and hurriedly came to his side. "Dad, what happened?" Zhang Fengxian raised his head with difficulty and looked at Zhang Daqin's nervous expression. His lips squirmed a few times as he bitterly said, "Kong Xia just called me. She said that your second uncle has transferred 10 to 20 billion yuan to a Swiss bank account, and he fled with several management members of the finance department. Kong Xia thinks that I'm the one behind this, and has already called the police." "What?" Zhang Daqin was so scared that her legs went soft, and she almost fell to the ground. The sky was falling. She knew very well that if second uncle really did it, the Zhang family would be finished. Whether it was the Long family or the Ouyang family, they would not let the Zhang family go after knowing about this. Something's wrong. Although Zhang Daqin's heart was filled with fear, she was not scared silly. She stared fixedly at Zhang Fengxian and said in a deep voice, "Dad, this matter is definitely not done by second uncle. It was all a conspiracy. I suspect that the Long family and the Ouyang family are the ones who want to plot against our Zhang family. Also, that Kong Xia should also be involved. In addition, the money must have been moved away by them. I'm afraid. I'm afraid second uncle has already met with misfortune. Hearing this, Zhang Fengxian's expression changed drastically. He suddenly jumped up from his chair and shouted in a deep voice, "Contact Long Hanwen immediately. I want to see him." "Yes." The young secretary answered immediately. After a while, "Boss, Long Hanwen is in the Long's dining hall. He said he was with a few important clients and didn't have time to see you. If you really have something urgent, then go to the Long's dining hall." Zhang Fengxian clenched his fists tightly. At this moment he was certain that everything that had happened before was a trap set up by the Long family and the Ouyang family, and their Zhang family was the target of the scheme. Everything that happened now was all part of their conspiracy. "Prepare the car, we're going to the Long's dining hall." After Zhang Fengxian figured it out, he immediately shouted. He had the intention to kill Long Hanwen and Ouyang Lei. Zhang Deqin quickly followed and said, "Dad, I'll go with you." A few minutes later, the three cars quickly left the underground parking lot of the Zhang Group and headed toward the direction of the Long's dining hall. Opposite the Zhang Group building, in a building that was dozens of floors high, a burly man with a pair of binoculars was observing the exit of Zhang Group's underground parking lot. After confirming the license plate, he immediately grabbed his phone and dialed a number. "The snake is out of its hole. Prepare to execute the follow-up plan." "Got it." 10 minutes later, on a road with very little traffic, a traffic accident blocked the path of three cars. Zhang Fengxian, who was sitting in the middle of the Mercedes-Benz, frowned and said, "Let's go and have a look. Tell them to make way." "All right." The young man in the passenger seat nodded and got out of the car. 10 seconds later, 6 premeditated vans came from 3 directions. Amidst the hurried braking sounds, more than a dozen strong men rushed out of the 6 vans and appeared around the 3 cars at an extremely fast speed. As the door was pulled open, 6 or 7 people in the car were dragged out. Zhang Fengxian's pupils contracted. Facing the burly man who was grabbing his collar and dragging him out, he desperately struggled and shouted, "Who are you?" "I'm the Zhang Group's big boss, Zhang Fengxian. Do you know the consequences of offending me? Let me go." Bam! He punched him hard in the temple and knocked him out. Zhang Deqin was knocked out by another big man, who carried her and directly stuffed her into a van. At the same time, in 8 other places, the other 8 important members of the Zhang family were also raided by the mysterious strong men and were taken away with lightning speed. Those people's actions were fast and the places they chose were extremely hidden, so they were not discovered. At Southgate Town, Tan Xiu put down his phone as the ruthless look in his eyes gradually faded away. A total of 12 high-level members of the Zhang family were arrested, along with 9 other employees of the Zhang Group. They had been sent to a secret place arranged by Long Hanwen in advance. The phone call just now was from Long Hanwen, who asked Tan Xiu how to deal with these people. According to Tan Xiu's previous style, he would naturally kill them all. But the Zhang family was, after all, a big family in Star City. Now that such a big thing had happened, it was bound to arouse the attention of countless forces. If the news of a lot of Zhang family's corpses being dumped on the street were to appear in the news tomorrow, it would be very difficult to end this matter. Furthermore, this matter was not over yet. When the Zhang Group was completely annexed, it would be the time to deal with the Zhang family's high-level members. Tan Xiu left the villa and came to the property management office. After finding Long Xiuyao, he said, "Take me to Lakeview Manor. It's not convenient to go out without a car." Long Xiuyao said with a smile, "Is it urgent? If not, wait for me for a while. I have something to deal with. I'll talk to you later." Tan Xiu nodded. Tan Xiu was no stranger to the property management office. He came to the rest area and the staff enthusiastically served hot tea. He silently thought about what he needed to do after dealing with the Zhang family. The college entrance tests results would come out soon. He was not worried about his own results. What he needed to consider now was the university he was going to apply for. Blue City University was a good choice. It was located in the provincial capital and was also a national key university. However, Tan Xiu thought that Shanghai University was also good. After all, Shanghai was the most developed city in the country with convenient transportation. Even if he were to go abroad later, he wouldn't need to transfer from Star City to Shanghai or other places. He had yet to visit the island he bought in the Pacific Ocean. He was ready to go there after he applied for the university. Although he had no money in the near future and had no way to transform it, he still had to arrange it in advance and find someone to take care of it. Ring, ring, ring. His cell phone's ringtone interrupted Tan Xiu's contemplation. Tan Xiu took out his cell phone and looked at the caller ID. He found out that it was Mu Qingping's call. He immediately connected it and asked, "Big sis Mu, what's the matter?" "Your mother is here. She's at home." "Got it. I'll go back immediately." After Tan Xiu finished speaking, he looked at Long Xiuyao, who was still busy in the distance. He didn't greet her and walked toward his villa. After returning home, Tan Xiu saw Mu Qingping chatting with his mother. "Mom." Tan Xiu greeted her with a smile. Upon seeing Tan Xiu, Su Lingyun's eyes suddenly lit up as she said with a smile, "Xiu, tomorrow is the day to fill in the university's application, right? Mom came here to ask you which university are you going to apply for?" Tan Xiu shook his head and said, "I haven't thought about it yet." Upon hearing it, Su Lingyun immediately said anxiously, "How can you do that? Tomorrow is the day to fill in the application. If you haven't thought about it, it will be a delay. Tell Mom, where do you want to go to study? Which university do you think you can apply for with your results?" Tan Xiu said, "I can guarantee that with my results, I can be admitted to any university in the country. If you really want me to say it, I have 2 goals now. The first one is our province's Blue City University. The reason why I'm considering it is because it's in our province and close to our Star City. If you can't let go of the restaurant business, I can come back to see you at any time. The other one is Shanghai University, which has the fastest economic development and is also the most prosperous city in the country. Studying there will make it more convenient to connect with the outside world in the future." A bit of nervousness appeared in Su Lingyun's eyes as she asked, "You haven't considered the university in the imperial capital?" Tan Xiu shook his head and said, "I've considered it, but I don't want to go to the imperial capital." Upon hearing it, Su Lingyun seemed to be relieved as a smile reappeared on her face. She said with a smile, "It's good that you don't want to consider it. The imperial capital is our country's capital, but if you study there, the pace of life after graduation will be fast and the pressure will be huge. Mom thinks that you should go to Shanghai." Tan Xiu's brows slightly furrowed. Fast pace of life? Huge pressure? This was indeed the case in the imperial capital, but wasn't it the same in Shanghai? His mother seemed to reject him going to the imperial capital. When she spoke just now, although she concealed it well, she was still very nervous, especially when she talked about the imperial capital. Could it be that there's something hidden in it? Tan Xiu probed. "Mom, if I choose to study in the imperial capital, will you oppose it?" This, Su Lingyun hesitated. Tan Xiu's eyes slightly squinted. After a moment, he returned to normal and said with a smile, "I'm just joking with you. Even if you want me to go to the imperial capital, I won't go there. So be it. If you're willing to close your restaurant business and go to Shanghai with me, I'll apply for Shanghai University when I fill the application form. If you don't want to go with me, then I'll apply for Blue City University." Su Lingyun quickly said, "Xiu, our restaurant's business is booming now. It's a pity to close it now. You don't need to care about me. Star City is our home after all. I'll stay in Star City, and you'll apply for Shanghai University. It's, after all, one of the top universities in the country. You can further your studies there, and you'll definitely be more powerful in the future. Furthermore, the transportation is so developed nowadays. If Mom misses you one day, I can visit you at any time. Besides, you can also come back if it's a Sunday or a holiday." Tan Xiu was silent for a moment. He then slowly nodded and said, "All right, I'll listen to you. However, I'll buy a house in Shanghai. It's very close to Shanghai University. When you're tired of staying in Star City, you can go to Shanghai and live there for some time. In addition, if I go to Shanghai to study, you can move here to live. This villa is so big that it can't be left empty." Su Lingyun said with a smile, I'll definitely come and live there if you can be admitted to Shanghai University. It's a deal. Since Tan Xiu had made up his mind, he was in a good mood and replied with a smile. Chapter 200. Tan Xiu's eyes shifted to Mu Qingping and said, Big sis Mu, I have 2 dirty clothes in my room. I'll have to trouble you to help me wash them. A strange light flashed in Mu Qingping's eyes as she said with a smile, You talk, I'll wash the clothes. As Mu Qingping left, Tan Xiu's eyes fell on his mother again. The smile on his face slowly faded away as he became a bit serious and said, Mom, I've decided that there should be no secrets between us, mother and son. I'll tell you a secret, but you must also answer me a secret. What is it? Su Lingyun asked with a puzzled expression. Tan Xiu said, I spent some money to buy a private island in the Pacific Ocean. I'm going to turn it into a paradise. If you're tired of living outside, you can go there to live. A private island? Su Lingyun asked with an inconceivable expression. How much did you spend, Xiu? 5 billion. Tan Xiu said truthfully. Hiss. Although Su Lingyun knew that her son had hundreds of millions of assets, she still couldn't help but gasp when she heard 5 billion. Tan Xiu explained, Originally, I borrowed the money. Later, because of some reasons, I made a lot of money and paid it back. So, you don't have to worry about the money coming from an illegal source. Su Lingyun was still a bit absent-minded as she said, Xiu Yu. Tan Xiu's eyes instantly burst out a strong light as he hurriedly asked, Mom, I've told you my secret. We mother and son shouldn't have secrets. Can you tell me why you don't want me to go to the imperial capital to study? In a trance, Su Lingyun blurted out a sentence, That's because your father's family. Her words. It suddenly stopped. Her complexion turned as pale as paper in an instant. Tan Xiu's eyes turned cold. Dad. What a strange word it was. When he was a child, he did ask his mother many times about his father, but he didn't get an answer. As he grew older, he gradually became more sensible and no longer asked about this matter. He even knew that every time he asked about it, his mother would be in pain. He had seen his mother secretly wiping away her tears while hugging that yellowed black and white photo. He didn't know if the man was dead or alive, and he didn't care. A man who is born but does not raise is not qualified to be a father. Sighing inwardly, Tan Xiu came to Su Lingyun's side and sat down. He pulled her hand with a smile and said, Mom, I already know the answer, so you don't need to say it again. Don't worry. I will go to Shanghai to study. When I fill in my application form tomorrow, I will write down Shanghai University. In addition, I've grown up and will be able to take care of you in the future. I only hope that you can be healthy and live a happy life. Su Lingyun's eyes overflowed with tears as she nodded heavily. Subsequently, Tan Xiu accompanied his mother and chatted for a while. When Mu Qingping came to the living room, he handed over the task of accompanying his mother to her and left the house alone. When he came to the property management office again, Long Shuiyao was almost done with her work. Where are you going? Long Shuiyao, who was wearing a decent business attire, asked with a beaming smile. Tan Xiu said, Lakeview Villa. Long Shuiyao was astonished. Why are you going to Lakeview Villa? The threshold there is very high. If you don't have an appointment in advance, you can't go there. Tan Xiu said, Long Hanwen is waiting for me there. Long Shuiyao was surprised. My uncle? When did you have such a good relationship with my uncle? Tan Xiu said with a smile, There are still a lot of things you don't know. Don't ask so much. Let's go. I'm in a hurry. Long Shuiyao gave Tan Xiu a flirtatious supercilious look. She drove her sports car and drove Tan Xiu away from Southgate Town. After arriving at Lakeview Villa, Long Shuiyao was obviously a frequent visitor here. She was directly let through without any obstruction. After getting off the car in the parking lot of Lakeview Villa, Tan Xiu said, Your task is done. I still have something to do, so you go back first. Long Shuiyao quickly said, Wait, I still have something to talk to you about. Tan Xiu helplessly said, You've been chatting with me all the way here. Why don't you talk about the proper business? Forget it. What's the matter? Long Shuiyao snappily said, Isn't it because of you? The driving school's headmaster asked me when you will go to the driving school. There are only a few days left before the next batch of students take the test. He can let you jump the queue ahead of time. However, you need to familiarize yourself with the car and try to drive it. Tan Xiu suddenly understood as he said with a smile, "Tell the driving school's headmaster that I'll go there tomorrow." Long Shuiyao nodded and said, "All right. If you have the test in a few days, the driving school's headmaster will arrange everything for you in advance. You only need to go there and wait to get your driver's license." "How long will it take to get my driver's license?" Tan Xiu asked. Long Shuiyao said with a smile, "You'll get your driver's license within half a month at the latest." "All right." Tan Xiu complied as he turned around and rushed toward the place where he had agreed to meet Long Hanwen. Standing in front of the car's door, Long Shuiyao snappily looked at Tan Xiu's back as she muttered, "This guy is really rude. I've looked for several layers of connections for that broken driver's license. He didn't even say thank you." More than 10 meters away, Tan Xiu suddenly stopped as he turned his head and said, "Long Shuiyao, thank you." Long Shuiyao's expression turned blank as a strange expression suddenly appeared on her beautiful face. He couldn't have heard what I just said, could he? Impossible. My voice was so small, and it was more than 10 meters away. Unless he had clairaudient, he would never have heard it. Long Shuiyao comforted herself, and then waved her arm toward Tan Xiu. She immediately got into the driver's seat and started the car to leave quickly. Tan Xiu looked at the sports car disappearing in the direction of the gate, as a trace of a smile outlined on the corner of his mouth. He had indeed heard Long Shuiyao's muttering. After all, his hearing was extremely sharp. Ordinary people might not be able to hear it, but it was not difficult for him. Inside the tea house in the deepest part of the Lakeview Manor, Long Hanwen, Chen Jizhong, Kong Xia, Miao Wentong, Xiao Mingjin, Ouyang Lei, Chu Yi Bai Tao, Long Zhengyu, and the others had gathered together. The attack against the Zhang family had almost come to an end. This time, everyone had come to prepare the distribution of the benefits obtained from the Zhang family. After their calculations, they found that the Zhang family's background was indeed deep. The total assets of the family were definitely more than 20 billion yuan. "Sorry, I was delayed by something." Tan Xiu's arrival immediately attracted everyone's attention. Long Hanwen said with a smile, "It's all right. In any case, we've done what we should do. Now someone else is doing the finishing touches. Tan Xiu, as far as I know, you're going to the university tomorrow to fill in the application form, right? How about it? Have you thought about which university you want to apply for?" "Magic City University," Tan Xiu said with a faint smile. Long Hanwen's expression moved as he said with a smile, "It's indeed a good key university. I think with your character, since you dare to apply for this university, I'm afraid you have full confidence. Come, I'll replace the wine with tea to congratulate you in advance that your dream will come true, and that you'll be able to enter a higher education institution for further study. Come, let's toast together." Miao Wentong also stood up and said with a smiling face. At this moment, everyone present was in a very happy mood. If it weren't for Tan Xiu this time, they wouldn't have been able to earn so much money. More than 20 billion yuan. Even if it was divided equally among the many forces, each of them would be able to get billions. Billions. Even for these big families, these rich and powerful people, it would take them 8 to 10 years to earn so much money. The cup of tea was finished. Long Hanwen looked at Tan Xiu and asked with a pensive expression, "The Zhang family is doomed to be finished. We're now dividing their property. Tan Xiu, how do you want to deal with the Zhang family's clansmen who have been kidnapped by us?" Tan Xiu shook his head and said, "Zhang Deqin and Zhang Fengxian must die. I haven't thought about how to deal with the others. Where are they? I'll go see them." Long Hanwen said, "I've sent people to transport them here. They're now locked up in the Longhu Manor's underground secret chamber." Tan Xiu nodded. He then looked at Kong Xia and said, "As for how to divide the money, you can talk to them. Also, apart from the 200 million for buying information, you'll use the rest for the upcoming big project." After saying that, under Long Zhengyu's lead, He quickly rushed to the Longhu Manor's underground secret chamber. In the underground secret chamber, the 21 bound Zhang family members and important executives of the Zhang group all fell into silence. Although they already had some suspicions in their hearts, they hadn't seen the main character yet. Therefore, they didn't dare to be sure who sent people to kidnap them. Creak. The underground secret chamber's door was pushed open as 4 strong men holding knives coldly walked into the secret chamber. Who the hell are you? Zhang Deqin's hands and feet were tied. She leaned against the corner of the wall as she roared loudly. I'll tell you. Tan Xiu walked into the room and looked at Zhang Deqin's angry expression with a cold and detached expression. Long Jingyu followed behind with folded arms as though he was watching a good show. It's you. Zhang Deqin's pupils contracted as she screamed. Zhang Fengxian's brows deeply wrinkled as he coldly glanced at Long Jingyu before his eyes finally fell on Tan Xiu. After looking at Tan Xiu for a few times, he turned his head and shouted with a sinking tone. Deqin, do you know him? Tan Xiu looked at a strong man who moved a chair. After he sat down, he crossed his legs and said with a smile, I know him. Of course she knows me. I'm afraid she'll recognize me even if I turn into ashes. Am I right, eldest Miss Zhang? Fear appeared in Zhang Deqin's eyes. She knew that she was finished the moment Tan Xiu appeared. She had witnessed Tang Xiu's ruthlessness and ruthlessness. Even 3 foreign assassins had died in his hands. Such a person would never let her go. Tan Xiu said with a smile. Now you know what fear is? I've forgiven you and your brother, but you even dared to spend money to hire foreign assassins to kill me. I'll send you and your brother to meet the King of Hell, just because you hate me to the bone. I'm very sorry. Quiet Night is giving a lecture at the Chongqing College of Arts and Sciences today. I only started writing in the afternoon, so the update time has been delayed by nearly half an hour. Please forgive me, brothers and sisters. For the sake of Quiet Night getting up early and working in the dark, I'm weekly asking for a monthly vote. Chapter 201. Zhang Deqin's body trembled and the horror in her eyes became more intense. Her voice also became sharper and shriller as she screamed. Tan Xiu, did you capture my brother? That unlucky child, Zhang Yongjin, is indeed dead, said Tan Xiu with a smile. Not only him, but your good sister is also dead. Don't worry. You'll be able to see him down there soon. I'll let your whole family reunite down there. Big drops of tears rolled down from Zhang Deqin's eyes. She stared fixedly at Tang Xiu with resentment in her eyes as she wailed miserably. Why? You fucking bastard. Why did you kill my brother? Come and kill me if you have the guts. You fucking curse and curse. Take advantage of your breath and vent all the resentment in your heart. Tan Xiu sneered. Otherwise, you'll become a malicious ghost after you die and won't be able to reincarnate for generations. Zhang Fengxian and the Zhangs had been listening to the conversation between Tan Xiu and Zhang Deqin. At this moment, they finally understood that the mastermind who kidnapped them turned out to be this young man in front of them, and also the one who wanted to destroy their Zhangs. They could even hear the deep hatred between Zhang Deqin and this young man. Zhang Fengxian desperately looked at Tan Xiu. He turned his head and angrily cursed. Bastard, tell me what the hell happened? How did you and your brother become enemies with him? Zhang Deqin's cursing came to an abrupt stop, and she closed her eyes in despair. It's said that reincarnation is a skill, Tan Xiu sneered. It seems that giving birth to a child is also a skill. You're Zhang Fengxian, aren't you? I've seen the investigation materials. The person in the photo is you. I say, you're such a smart person. How could you give birth to 2 idiotic children? What else can they do except to bring disaster to the family? Did you really kill my son? Zhang Fengxian angrily shouted. Yes, I did. His death should be very miserable, said Tan Xiu. Zhang Fengxian clenched his fists in pain, but then loosened them. He looked straight at Tan Xiu and said, Tell me, how deep is the hatred between you and them that you want to eliminate the whole Zhang family? Tan Xiu sneered and said, This is the work of your precious daughter. She actually spent money to hire foreign assassins to infiltrate the country, and wanted to kill me. You should have heard about the 3 people who were killed outside Southgate Town, right? Those are the assassins hired by your children. Unfortunately, they were too weak. Not only did they fail to kill me, but I killed them myself. Zhang Fengxian was shocked. So the murder case in Southgate Town was actually done by you. Furthermore, it has something to do with the Zhang family? Looks like you're right. I did give birth to a pair of children who invite disaster. Tan Xiu sneered and said, I was thinking about how to solve the problem of the Zhang family. Now that I've told you everything, I'm afraid that none of you will be able to survive in order to avoid unnecessary trouble in the future. Long Jingyu, tell your men to kill them all and throw them away at sea. Long Jingyu said with a smile, Don't worry. My dad has already arranged everything in advance. Their bodies can be sent to the high seas to be thrown away at any time. Zhang Fengxian shot a deep look at Long Jingyu and said with a bitter expression, I never thought that your Long family would find such a good helper. Your father ordered him to be the enemy of my Zhang family in order to drive us out of Star City, didn't he? Those 3 assassins were just an opportunity. However, I don't understand how your Long family did it. Even if you and the Ouyang family join hands, I'm afraid it's impossible for you to achieve this. Long Jingyu couldn't help laughing and said, Zhang Fengxian, do you really think that the main force behind this matter is my Long family? Do you think that if our Long family is really that powerful, would they have tolerated your Zhang family's development in Star City for so many years? Zhang Fengxian stared blankly and asked with a confused expression, Who's that? Long Jingyu pointed at Tan Xiu and said with a faint smile, The one that your Zhang family shouldn't have provoked is him. Now that things have come to this, I'll let you die in peace. Do you know how many forces are attacking your Zhang family this time? How many? Zhang Fengxian asked. The first is our Long family, the second is his disciple Chen Zhizhong, the third is Jingmen Island's Ouyang family, the fourth is Haiqing Province's Miao Wentong. The fifth is northern Jiangsu's Xiaomingzhen. The sixth is the imperial capital's Chu family, and the seventh is the imperial capital's Bai family. There's also the eighth. Zhang Fengxian's complexion turned ghastly pale as fear flashed in his eyes. Upon hearing Long Jingyu mention so many forces, he knew that the Zhang family was doomed. His lips trembled as he looked at Long Jingyu in disbelief and asked with a trembling voice, Who's the eighth? Long Jingyu pointed at Tan Xiu and said with a smile, The magnificent Tang Corporation is his company. I'm afraid you never thought that Kong Xia's boss is actually him, right? What? This time, it was not only Zhang Fengxian who cried out in alarm. Even the fearful Zhang Deqin, as well as the other members of the Zhang family and the senior leaders of the Zhang group were shocked. Kong Xia. She turned out to be working for Tan Xiu? The big boss behind the magnificent Tang Corporation turned out to be Tan Xiu? Who exactly was he? What virtue and ability did he have that made Kong Xia willingly work for him? Zhang Fengxian asked with a trembling voice. Are these forces involved in this conspiracy? It's all because of him? That's right. It's all because of Tan Xiu, said Long Jingyu with a smile. I don't think anyone else would have such a big rallying power to gather so many forces to deal with your Zhang family. Long Jingyu, what's the point of talking so much nonsense? Tan Xiu waved his hand and said, They're all people who are about to die. Kill them quickly and annex the Zhang family's assets as soon as possible. Then everyone can go back to their own business. I have a lot of things to do and I don't want to waste my energy on a small Zhang family. A small Zhang family? Each and every member of the Zhang family had a deathly pale face, and fear shrouded their hearts. Suddenly, a member of the Zhang family raised his head and stared at Tan Xiu as he hurriedly asked, Mr. Tang, there's a misunderstanding between us. The ones who want to harm you are Zhang Deqin and her brother. Even their father doesn't know about it. I think if he knew, he would definitely stop Zhang Deqin and Zhang Yongjin. Besides, the ignorant can't be blamed. We didn't participate in this matter, nor do we have any grudges with you. Can you let us go? You can take all the Zhang family's assets if you want. Besides, I've saved a lot of money over the years. I'll give it all to you. Another member of the Zhang family also hurriedly said, I'm also rich. I'm willing to use money to buy my life. Please don't kill us. If our Zhang family falls, we'll be penniless. We'll hide far away from you later. It's best if we don't see you again in this life. If you still can't vent your hatred, Just kill Zhang Deqin. She's the main culprit. She's the one who deserves to die. You guys, Zhang Deqin looked at the two people who spoke in disbelief. One of them was her blood-related uncle, and the other was her blood-related aunt. She never dreamed that they would betray their niece in order to live. Zhang Fengxian looked at his younger brother and sister in pain. He was so distressed that he almost stopped breathing. However, he didn't want to die. He wanted to continue living. His son was dead. If he were to die, he would really have no descendants. Zhang Fengxian's eyes slowly turned red. He fiercely glared at Zhang Deqin as he turned his head and said with all seriousness, Tanxiu, the heavenly Tao has its own cycle. Although Zhang Deqin is my daughter, she should have thought about the consequences of her failure before she hired an assassin to kill you. As the saying goes, one should be responsible for his own actions. If you can't vent your hatred by destroying our Zhang family, then kill her too. As for the others, I hope you can spare our lives. We'll leave Star City later and fly to a faraway place. We'll never see you again. Dad. Zhang Deqin's blood boiled as she crazily spurted out a mouthful of blood. She couldn't wipe the blood from her mouth as she looked at her father with disbelief. Her uncle and aunt had abandoned her and pushed her out to be a shield. She could understand it. After all, they were very selfish. But Zhang Fengxian was her biological father. It was said that even a vicious tiger wouldn't eat its cubs. Yet he actually wanted her to die to save his life. Despair. Zhang Deqin was so distressed that she found it hard to breathe. She suddenly felt a deep sorrow. She was sad that she had such a family member. They were greedy for life and afraid of death. They had no sense of shame. Zhang Deqin was afraid of death. But knowing that she would die without a doubt, the hatred she had for her family made her instantly throw caution to the wind. She shouted loudly, Tanxiu, I'll tell you today that I'm the one who wants to kill you. It's not only me who wants to kill you, but also them. When you helped the Long family to seize Walled Hill Village, they wanted to kill you. I don't have the ability to contact the foreign assassins. It's them who told me their contact information. It's them who instigated me to find someone to kill you. Asshole. Bullshit. This is pure slander. Making irresponsible remarks. Shameless. Damn. The complexions of the Zhang family's people greatly changed as they angrily glared at Zhang Deqin and roared. Zhang Fengxian didn't speak, but his eyes were full of indifference as he looked at his daughter. Tanxiu looked at the dog-eat-dog Zhang family's people and indifferently shook his head. He didn't expect that such a situation would occur, and this situation made him more determined to eliminate the core members of the Zhang family. Jingyu, I'll leave this to you. Long Jingyu smiled and said, Don't worry. Long Jingyu said with a smile. It's absolutely a perfect solution and won't leave any disasters behind. Wait. Zhang Fengxian shouted in a deep voice. Tanxiu halted his pace as he looked at Zhang Fengxian and asked, What else do you want to say? Zhang Fengxian took a deep breath and spoke in a deep tone. Tanxiu, let us live. I'll give you a lot of money. A lot of money. Tanxiu was short on money, but he wouldn't let Zhang Fengxian off. However, he didn't have any psychological burden to squeeze some money from a dying man. He asked with interest, How much do you think your lives are worth? Zhang Fengxian said with all seriousness, 3 billion. I'm willing to pay 3 billion to buy our lives. This is the last money I've hidden. Apart from me, no one else in the Zhang family knows about it. As long as you let us go, all 3 billion is yours. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.